Good afternoon, everybody. Happy New Year. 2025 has arrived. How is everybody? Let me say hi. Hey, Neat Noodle. Hey, Curious Christine, Lisa, Alicia, Melissa, Jennifer. Good to see you guys. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Hey, B Crumbs. Good to see you. All right, you guys. So we're back. We have day 2 of Georgia versus Melody Farris. And when we left off yesterday, the prosecutor said that the first witness was going to be quite lengthy. And I've already skipped ahead to the first witness. And let me go ahead and share my screen. How was you guys' New Year's Eve? What did you all do? Me and Neat Noodle hung out together in Patreon for a while, and we chit-chatted about my move and the plans for the channel, which I will hold on a second. Sorry about that. Which I'll talk to you guys about. So this is what I plan to do in 2025. I'm going to go back to my roots. I'm going to go back to streaming trials. It's what I like. It's what I enjoy. It's, I think, what I might be good at. And so that's what I want to do. So I'll be doing that. And we do have some interesting trials coming up. We have Megan Boswell. There was an update on Megan Boswell's case at the end of last year in December. So her attorneys made a motion for a change of venue. And the judge said there's two things they can do. They can have a change of venue, or they can have, and there's a term for it that's on the tip of my tongue. I just can't remember what it's called right now, where they bring in a jury from another county. So those are the two things that they can do. But the judge ruled that the thing was to get a jury in the county in which she is charged from that county. So that's the case right before Christmas. Okay. Tomorrow, and I'm not sure how that went. I haven't been able to find an update on that. And so I'm not exactly sure. Lisa, what's going on? You sick? Oh, no. I'm sorry, babe. I hope you feel better. It's going around, though. Last week, my daughter and son-in-law both were sick, and thankfully it was like a 24-hour bug. It went pretty quick, but it was really gross. So yeah, I didn't get it. Knock on wood. I don't even know if this desk is wood. Let me knock on this. That's wood. Okay. So I need to check on Megan Boswell. I don't know what they're doing with her as far as the jury selection goes. Her trial isn't supposed to be, I think, until February of this year. Then we have the Wagners, which, if you guys remember, that is the Pike County massacre or Pike County murders. And that's where the 8 members of the Roden family were all killed in one night. And then another family, the Wagners, which would be Billy, who's the father, Angela is the mother, George is the older brother, Jake is the youngest brother, are all charged in that. Jake Wagner and Angela Wagner took plea deals. And in exchange for their testimony truthfully at the trials of George Wagner and Billy Wagner, the death penalty would be removed from the table. Well, a month ago, the new presiding judge, the old presiding judge retired. The new presiding judge decided that this has gone on long enough. It's taken too long. And so he took the death penalty off of the table for Billy Wagner's upcoming trial. And he chose to go ahead and sentence Angela and Jake Wagner. Their sentencing is tomorrow, which is Friday. I will absolutely be covering that. I'll live stream it. And then I'll just adjust accordingly for this trial that I'm covering. So there's that. Billy Wagner's trial date is somewhat kind of up in the air because of what the oh, yay, Lisa, I'm okay. Well, you get your rest, babe. You just listen to me. I'm just going to cut in every so often during this trial. This is actually quite an interesting trial. So there's that trial. Then we have Lori Vallow, who has decided it would be a fantastic idea to represent herself. That has been allowed. And so that is what they are going to do. That's coming up this year. So we have a lot of trials for me to cover. Is tomorrow Thursday? Oh my gosh. Well, whatever. Okay, so if tomorrow is Thursday, yeah, today's Wednesday. My bad. Mike. Guess what date it is? Hump day. Yes. Thank you, Neat Noodle. Yeah. So tomorrow is Thursday. He's sentenced on Friday, I think. I'll have to go back and check. Now I'm all confused. I'm all discombobulated. Anywho, regardless, whatever day it is that Jake and Angela will be sentenced, I will stream it. Now, I would imagine that there's going to be victim impact statements. I don't know if Angela and Jake will speak at their sentencing. I would be interested to hear what they have to say. I did listen to, I think it was Court TV. They did a opening statements segment, and they spoke about the Wagner case. And there is something that I didn't actually consider in my outrage about how the judge did what he did. To use a plea agreement, their argument, the host and her guest, the argument they made is essentially that the prosecution holding the death penalty of the other family members over Jake and Angela's head might cause some problems later on down the road. However, and I'm not sure how Ohio works it because they didn't. And so I'm kind of curious about that. Oh, Curious Christine, thank you for being a member for 4 months. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for supporting me and the channel. I appreciate that very, very much. But I know that in Colorado, when you take a plea deal, unless there is new evidence that wasn't available at the time of the plea deal, so it cannot be something that came from discovery. It's got to be absolutely, completely, totally brand new. Nobody knows about it. You cannot appeal something like that. I don't know if Ohio is the same. So I don't know what potential impacts that plea agreement between the state and Angela and Jake Wagner has on down the road. I know George Wagner, let me tell you his whole government name. His whole government name is George Washington Wagner the Fourth, because Billy's actual government name is George Washington Wagner the Third. So, but he goes by Billy. George goes by George. Anyway, he's appealing his conviction. So I don't know what impact, if any, that will have on um, the appeal, but we'll have to wait and see. So anyway, that is my plan moving forward for the channel on a day-to-day basis. Is I'm going back to my roots. I'm covering trials. Um, I do, Patricia. I do agree with that. Yes. I feel like both cases are very similar in that between the Adelsons and the Wagners, the underlying motive for the murders of the Roden family, as well as the murder of Dan Markel, was custody of the child. I don't understand how anybody in their right mind could ever think that murder is a viable option or to a solution for a child custody. It is slightly different in the Wagner's case versus the Adelson case in that Angela Wagner's was fixated on her granddaughter being potentially abused. She did not feel that Hannah or her parents in the Rodens were going to be able to protect her granddaughter from that happening, because it did happen to Hannah apparently when she was younger by somebody that the family knew. So that, but she's very, very fixated on that. And what we learned from George's trial is that even Jake's new wife, Tabitha, no, Tabitha was the ex of George. I cannot remember Jake's wife's name off the top of my head. They're no longer married, but at the time, even she was unable to hold on a minute. What happened, Pointer Lover? What's going on, babe? What's disgusting, sweetie? Will you tell me again? I missed it. I don't see it. I just see B Crumbs. I'm furious. Don't be furious. What? Was her name Angela? Patricia, I'm going to have to look it up. I can't remember off the top of my head, but which I should have, because I was going to talk about this anyway. But anyway, she wasn't even able to escape that accusation. Oh, okay, Pointer. Okay, babe. All right. All right, we're good. Okay, as long as we're good here. All right. No, B Crumbs. It's okay, babe. It's fine. You guys can talk. You guys know me. I don't really care about that. I was just worried that something was going on with Pointer Lover, and I'd be checking on my friends. So anyway, that's coming up. I want to do, before Billy's trial, I'm going to do a whole recap and break down all of the things. But if you are interested in watching George's trial, I made a playlist for it. And Elizabeth, thank you, Melissa, coming in clutch. I appreciate that so much. Well, you think I would remember that name, but obviously just poof right out of my brain. Anyway, so I'll go over, I'll do like a recap of all of the things Wagner, and make sure, just to catch everybody up as it gets closer to Billy's trial. But also is a playlist of George Wagner's trial on the channel. So there's that. The other thing I want to talk about is what I'm going to do with Patreon. So I feel like personally, and I know yesterday was kind of a weird day to try to do it. It was New Year's Eve. People have plans. They're doing stuff. It's, what it is. But I've noticed that for whatever reason, me going live in Patreon just hasn't been as, there doesn't seem to be as much interest in it. And maybe that's because I don't do it. I have a set schedule. That'll work better for everybody. We can depend on, okay, every Thursday or whatever, Jen goes live at Patreon. Maybe I'll do something like that. But for the time being, I'm going to stick with Bedtime Books with Bendy. And I'm going to upload content, meaning documentaries that I feel like might not be appropriate for YouTube. And in other words, I would have to censor them so much that I think that the story might be lost. So, wow, what is happening here? Like, real. Anyway, so that's what my plan is moving forward. I have the Sid and Nancy something else documentary that will be up on Patreon January 10th, 2025. Listen, 100 and some odd people watched that video and nobody told me I had to catch it. That's so weird, Pointer Lover. That is a bummer, and I don't know how to fix that. Maybe it's something on my end. Maybe I'll check my settings. The reverb on, I don't have any, there's none of that on my microphone. I think it's probably because, let me see something here. I don't know how to fix that. I'm sorry, Patricia. There's not like, oh, thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate that. Thank you for gifting a membership. I appreciate it very much. I'll look into that, but I can't, like, there's nothing I can do from here. I don't, anyway, sorry about that. What was I going to tell you guys? So there's that. Oh, 100 and some odd people watched that, and nobody told me that I had the year wrong. I wrote 2024 instead of 2025. Oh, well, such is life. So there's that. That's coming then. I'm going back to doing bedtime books with Bindi. I want to read you guys the Nancy Spongen's mom's book, and I don't want to live this life. But I wanted to give you guys like an overview, a documentary on the case itself, which, you know, of Sid and Nancy. So I'm going to do that first, and then I'll start bedtime books with Bendy. So those are the, also, I'm ready now to do the documentary on Gannon Stauch. It's time. So there's that. I'm going to do that. So we got a lot of like cool stuff coming up. Let me look. Hold on. Hold on a sec. Yeah, the mic is working. Is it doing something for everybody else, or is it just for Patricia? And the only reason why I ask is because let me tell you what settings I have. Test mic, test speaker, echo cancellation, stereo audio, auto adjust mic volume. That's it. That's all. Unless I go to settings. Let me go over to my computer and see what's going on. Let me check. Hold on. Give me just a second. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and play the trial, and then I'll work on these mic settings. Okay. All right. Here we go.
Usually the lawyers don't want y'all to hold it against them if there aren't, you know, your normal pleasantries exchange when you bump into somebody in the hallway. Also, I've talked to Miss Baker and the court administrator about getting lunch for y'all. My plan at the moment is for us to do that maybe every other day, starting tomorrow and Friday. And y'all do lunch on your own today and Thursday. and then we can kind of chat about it on Friday and whether y'all want to eat in every day or not. My thought, if we do it on Friday, that we might maybe break a little early instead of going till 5:30. Again, that'll just depend on the witnesses, but we'll see what y'all think about that as we go. All right, anything else we need to take up before we get started, Mr. Fogus?
Nobody's taking on it.
All right, go ahead and bring in your next witness.
Police and Court Counsel, this time the state calls Lee Stewart. Stewart. Raise your right hand if you would, please. Do you solemnly swear affirm the evidence you're about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir, I do.
Put your hand down, go ahead and have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. You're going to be there for a while. No, Judge,
We were talking about moving it to the hallway yesterday, but we can do that later, but just move it out of the way for now and put it up against the wall. And we'll have a bailiff move it later.
Please state your full name for the record, if you would.
Lieutenant Lee Stewart,
Where do you work?
currently employed with the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office.
And currently, what are your main duties that you do?
So currently, I'm one of the assistant division commanders in the Court Services Division. I'm assigned as a crime scene technician on the crime scene response unit, and I'm also in charge of our motor unit for the Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been policing?
Since March 23rd, 1998, so roughly 26 and a half years.
You started in 1998?
Yes, sir.
Did you come out of high school, or how'd you get involved? Where'd you go? Was it high school, into law enforcement, college, or something like that?
No, sir. High school, directly into the Marine Corps, and then I enlisted in the Marine Corps Reserves, and then I started law enforcement because I needed a job. So, and been here ever since.
What attracted you to be a law enforcement officer?
A family friend of ours who was the sheriff down in Alachua County, Florida years ago, I really looked up to, and I thought that listening to his stories that this would be a fun job to do.
Where'd you go to police academy at?
I went to back when I went, it was just behind Kennesaw Mountain. It was in Georgia.
Was that where you drove every day, or did y'all spend the night and stay over?
No, we drove. I mean, we drove every day. The only time we stayed anywhere was when we had to go down to the training center down in Forsyth for firearms qualifications or like EBOT for driving instructor, stuff like that. But other than that, we drove back and forth every day.
And how long was the training that you did for that?
I don't remember what it was back then. It was like 11 or 12 weeks.
And when did you do any type of specialized training in the academy, or was it just the basic training?
The academy was just basic training.
All right, were you pepper sprayed in the academy?
I think we were pepper sprayed at the sheriff's office before we actually went to the academy.
You been tased too?
I didn't get tased until probably 7-8 years ago. But
would you rather be pepper sprayed or tased?
Tased.
I'm always interested in that question with officers. When you're in the academy, you just get basic information. Once you get out, explain to the jury, if you would, what FEO is, or how do you get on the job training? So
with policing, how you get on the job training is at each division that you go to, you get assigned a training officer. So I started in the jail, so I was assigned to a detention training officer for I don't remember how many weeks that was, but it was probably 6-8 weeks. And I went to several different ones and learned the different shifts and what happened on different shifts. And then you work that position, and then there's continuing on-the-job training that the state requires. We get so many hours a year of training. And then when I moved from patrol or the jail to patrol, then I had to go through a 12-week FTO training process. Then there's still once you get done, the state requires other training that you're required to take every year on top of it. And so there's an FTO process for everything that you go through on top of, like there's specialized training classes you can take and whatnot, depending on how you want to gear your career.
So you started in the jail, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And then from that, did you go to, is it uniform patrol, is that what we call it?
Yeah, I spent roughly 23 months in the jail, and then about 20 and a half years on patrol before being assigned here.
In the jail, do you get used to talking with people, meeting with people, seeing people with different worldviews and cultures?
Yes.
Then when you get out on the road and you're on patrol, how is that assigned? Are you assigned to a certain area, or what do you do?
So back when I came to the road years ago, there was only 3 precincts. I think we have 6 total now. They're doing it a little differently now. But so basically, when I came to the road, you train. Like I trained at several different precincts with several different FTOs. Now they try to keep people at the 26 and a half.
How has it kind of changed in those years?
I mean, the population is growing leaps and bounds from. I grew up here, so from when I was a kid to now, the population has just grown leaps and bounds from what it used to be.
How's the sheriff's office changed when it comes to the size? How many officers did you have when you began, and what do we have now?
I mean, I can give you a guess. I mean, I can't give you an accurate number, but
That'll work. Let's go.
I would say when I got hired in '98, there was probably 100 total employees, and I think now we're allotted for roughly 400 plus officers now sworn.
The sheriff here is Sheriff runs a full service sheriff's office, does everything.
Yes, sir, we are.
Are there standards that the sheriff imposes on his officers?
Yes.
Is it a professional sense that there's always ongoing training and
Yes.
or accountability, things like that?
Yes, absolutely.
If you would, after you get done doing patrol, at some point did you get involved in doing investigations or get a desire to do anything else?
Yeah, so I've always kind of had an interest in investigations, but I also love being in patrol. So while I was on patrol, there was a posting that came available for the crime scene unit, being on the crime scene response unit, and I applied for that position. It was an extra duty. I applied for that position, went through the interview process for it, kind of a practical, and I was one of the ones that got selected. And then obviously, just being selected alone, to become a crime scene tech, I want to say it's like 240 hours of thereabouts of required classes you have to take through the state to become a certified crime scene technician.
I want to talk to you a little bit about training. I'm going to ask you about specialized training for what I call the CSI.
Okay.
Every year, again, if you're an officer and you work for the sheriff, how many hours does the state require training, and how many hours do y'all actually get training?
So the state requires, all the state requires is 20 hours, and then there's certain classes that the state requires you to take. The sheriff's office, that obviously wants more hours than that.
But how many do you get a year, you think?
It depends on the year. When I was going to school working on my master's degree, part of that applied toward post-training. So those years I got several hundred hours of training on top of my departmental training and stuff. So I mean, it could be anywhere from, it ranges year to year, 60 hours to 200 hours. It just varies.
And what education degrees do you have now?
I hold a bachelor's degree and a master's degree.
Okay, what are those in?
The bachelor's degree is in organizational management and leadership, and the master's degree is in public administration, so basically government management.
Explain to the jurors, if you would.
To interrupt here briefly to say that a master's in organizational management is not something that I would ever be able to obtain. I'm like, my brain is too scattered for all that business. But this guy seems to know his stuff. So he's going to be on the stand for quite some time, going over everything with the crime scene. So we'll just get used to this, gentlemen. All right, here we go.
The difference between just an investigator like a CID that's actually a detective, if you would, and then how that is different from someone that does crime scene response, or CSI as I call it.
Okay. So on smaller cases, detectives they'll do the evidence collection and the interviews and stuff like that. On larger scale cases, especially when there's a lot of evidence collection and processing that needs to be involved, they get us involved. And basically that allows them time to focus on chasing leads, interviewing suspects, stuff of that nature, while we're there to, they tell us, hey, I want you to process this area over here, this area over here, whatever, and then we go back and we do it. We look for
Thank
whatever
you,
evidence
Bogart.
that
I
is available to
appreciate
be
that
found.
so much. Thank you so much.
A lead detective or just a detective investigating a case and crime scene. So you're not involved in kind of interviewing people and just talking to them?
No.
You're focused more on the actual physical place or evidence?
The place, the person's, crime scenes can be persons, places, things, whatever. So you're focused on the crime scene and the evidence collection aspect of it, not, interviewing suspects or talking to people outside of, like, case detective, stuff like that.
Oftentimes we talk about crime scene in our line of work. We talk about it's more than just one thing. It could be a place, it could be the victim, it could be the defendant, it could be a certain area that's
Correct.
out. And when you are, how do you Can anybody just today in the sheriff's office say, hey, I want to be a crime scene response or suicide investigator? Can they do that, or how does that work?
They can, obviously. As anything, we need to grow accordingly with this, as the county grows. But so when people become new crime scene investigators, there's a process that they have to go through. So there's 240 hours of, I think it's 240, don't quote me, but it's mid 200s of training. There's 7 classes that you're required to take.
Spoiler alert, you're being quoted. Not only are you being recorded for, your quotes are going to live on forever because it's the internet and the trial's being streamed, but also it's part of the court record. So you completely will be quoted, sir.
And then also there's a OJT process that you have to go through as well. That's required by the state. So
hold on.
You have to tell us what OJT is.
Thank you so much, Curious Christine. I appreciate that, babe. Thank you. It was very generous. Thank you so much. All right, here we go.
The job training, sorry. So, for example, when I came onto the unit, I was selected for the unit.
Okay.
Before I had finished.
We
all
know
my
that he's
crime
got
scene
his
classes. So I was not an actual
stuff. Let's get to what we came here for.
Boy.
I'm from the country.
All right, here we go.
Tractors and farm work and stuff like that?
Yes, sir.
Do you use your common sense, things like that in your job too?
I try to.
And when you how
Let's
would
get
you
to the meat
describe
and
this
taters.
farm, 2511 Purcell Lane? How would you describe it in your own terms? What kind of property is it? What's it like?
It was an extremely nice home and small farm. It was a nice. Obviously it was set up for equestrian stuff because there was a barn, there was chicken houses, and it was just a small kind of do-it-yourself type farm.
Kind of a blue-collar farm or more of a hobby farm?
I guess that
A little combination?
A little combination of both, probably.
When you were at the scene and you arrived, was Chris Shaw, was he the lead side person?
I would assume. So,
And you had other people, Melanie Thrasher, William Ballard.
yeah, we were all out there.
Tell the jury when you got there, was there delegation of duties or assignments or tasks for your response team?
Yeah, so typically, on a scene like we're talking about right now, it can be large because you don't know what you're looking for. So basically, it's a lot for one person. So it might be you go over here, you go over here, you go over here, you go over here. This is the kind of stuff I want you to do. This is the kind of stuff I want you to do. Because if not, one person can get overwhelmed. So it's easy.
Happy New Year to you
break it
too,
up in individual-
Sprinkled
it's like anything, you
Donut.
break it
I
up in individual
appreciate
duties.
that.
And
Thank
it makes
you. Happy New Year to
It makes everybody's
everybody.
more mission focused instead of all over the place, if that makes sense.
When you arrived, so I want to turn your attention now to July 5th, 2018. It was a Thursday. Do you remember about what time you got there?
I don't. I know it was after I got off work, so typically on a patrol, our shifts were, 5:30 to 6, so sometime in the afternoon.
And when you arrived, just about how many people do you remember seeing there when it comes to emergency personnel or law enforcement?
The number I was not going to give you is going to be accurate, but I would say there was at least 20, 25 people there at a minimum.
And when you came to the property, where did you go to first? What were you doing?
I don't remember exactly where I met, but I remember I went up and I met with the other crime scene personnel on scene and was directed to. I was given my initial task of what they wanted me to help with.
If I have your time down, y'all use military time, make sure that's right. 17:12.
5:12. Yeah.
Is that about an accurate time you think around that time you got there?
Probably, yes.
So when you get there, what is the first thing that you are tasked with doing?
So the first kind of thing that I was tasked with doing was processing a Kubota tractor that was parked over next to the barn.
And we're going to get to the pictures, things like that. But just to cut to the chase, did you get any samples for blood from the tractor?
I did, sir.
Now, this is a tractor, and there's an RTV there too. Is that right?
Yes, sir. There was.
But we're talking about the Kubota tractor.
It's a mid-sized farm tractor, no cab, with a loader on it.
What kind of tractor do you have?
I've got two. I've got a New Holland 6635 and an LS MT122.
Now, the Kubota tractors, those are they nice tractors?
They are.
Are they easy to drive? This type of tractor?
I think they are, but
And so, what size of a tractor is it compared to a regular tractor on a farm?
I don't remember the exact size of, like, the horsepower and all that stuff of the tractor. I'm gonna have to look at a picture to tell you, but it was an adequate tractor for, in my opinion, for what they were doing.
And on this tractor, so I want to make sure we get this. If you were stepping up, if you're sitting on if I was driving the tractor, sitting in the driver's seat.
Correct.
So this is left side, right side from where I'm sitting in
Correct.
the driver's seat. So on the left side, there's a footstep. Did you take some swabbings from blood there?
I did, sir.
And did you follow your procedure on how you did all that swabbing?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you properly seal it, bag it, package it, send it to the sheriff's office, and then it was sent off to the GBI?
Correct.
And was that the blood that came back on the foot there, on that step?
You talking about the one that was tested that returned? Yes.
Yes. Did you check for any other type of evidence on the tractor?
Yeah, so I also,
Hang on just a second. I'm going to rewind it back like 2 seconds. Well, okay. I seem to remember this lady in the gallery who's there right now, who's texting. She must be a reporter because I remember her from, I believe, Leilani's trial and also another trial taking place in Cherokee County, which was Chloe Driver. So she must be like live tweeting. So, yeah. Can y'all hear that alert continuing to go off, or is it just me? Because it's driving me nuts, and I don't know how to fix it.
Yes. Did you check for any other type of evidence on the tractor?
yeah, so I also took touch DNA. I did 9 touch DNA swabs at various locations around the controls of the tractor. So the steering wheel, the examples of the steering wheel, the shifter, the lever that controls the loader on the tractor, stuff like that. I took where people would commonly touch. I took touch DNA swabs.
Blood on the step of the tractor.
Yes, sir.
And then I think, did you help, you were working at times, helping, assisting, watching, being present when other crime scene technicians did things?
Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Ballard, who was that?
So Lieutenant Ballard, he is actually the lieutenant over the crime scene unit. So he's assigned to CID as a department head. So under CID, there's several department heads. So prime example, and I may get the names wrong, but we have white collar, we have general crimes, we have major crimes, that stuff. So what they do is they have them broken down into sections, and there's a lieutenant over each section. So he's the lieutenant over. I'm not sure what he does. He's over the crime scene unit and another section. So we're also duty he has.
Very good guy, very smart guy. You like working with him?
I do.
He may not testify because y'all were kind of, other people were with him at the time, but
Correct.
Is he over the crime scene?
He is, sir.
Yeah, very, very good guy. Like working with him. Now, when he was spraying the Kubota, the RTV, he was using something called Blue Star. What is Blue Star?
So Blue Star is a chemical that's designed to enhance specimens of blood or where we think blood may be. And when you spray it on, like you would any kind of household chemical or cleaner or whatever, it's out of a spray bottle. You spray it on, and when you spray it on, it fluoresces.
So it's a technique you use, a chemical you use to see if there's blood present.
Yes.
Now, when Blue Star, can it interact or react to other things besides blood?
Yeah. So Blue Star is designed to react to blood of a mammal, humans, other mammals. But also, it's designed. It will react to, because what it's reacting to is the iron in the blood. And it will also react to iron as well, but if it's just straight iron and not blood, it will show differently, basically.
So mammalian blood.
Yes.
Blood.
So if it's just a sample of iron, it'll flash real quick and go away typically. If it's a sample of blood, it'll flash and stay for a period of time and slowly, I guess the illumination will slowly go away.
So let me go back to that. So if you spray it and it's not blood, it pops?
It'll pop real quick and go away.
Okay, but if it is blood, mammalian blood, mammal blood.
Correct. It'll stay, and it won't stay forever. I mean, you got to, you basically have to be set up ready to photo it when you do it, but you got 30, 45 seconds for it to kind of stay up, and it kind of just slowly the light, the fluorescence will slowly dissipate.
And when you were with Lieutenant Ballard and y'all were processing the RTV, it too is a Kubota RTV?
Yeah, it's a Kubota RTV, which is it's a side-by-side, like a Polaris Ranger or a Kawasaki Miller or whatever. It's a side-by-side used by construction workers, people working on farms, stuff like that.
The lever for the hydraulic dump bed in the dash area, when it was Blue Star, did it fluoresce?
It did.
When you went over the tractor, the dash area, did it also fluoresce?
Give me just a second. Let me look back at my report for a minute. I don't remember. I haven't. In my report it says that the step did, but I don't remember the dash. I'd have to look at photos.
Sorry. So the lever for the hydraulic dump, the bed, and the step did indicate presence of blood.
Correct.
Now, at some point, you're processing the house. Did you go into the actual inside the house at all and help out?
Yes.
I think there were some things you were looking. What things there did you notice?
At what point?
Well, let me go back to so I think you were there on the 5th, and y'all, when you processed the tractor and the RTV, is that right?
The tractor and the RTV and I took photographs of the barn and whatnot.
Right, lots of photographs. We want to see those.
Okay.
And then, did you come back on July 6th, which is Friday, the next day?
Yes, sir, I did.
And I think you probably went to the house in the basement at some point?
I did.
What did you notice down there?
So I went in there and assisted Sergeant Carter while we collected and helped him collect some evidence. We collected samples of hair that was on a wall. We collected various other things, and then I was tasked to process several garbage cans that were in the downstairs office in the house.
When you processed the garbage can, I believe it was the trash can out of Gary's office in the basement. Do you remember what was anything in particular that was in there broken?
Yeah. So you want me to tell you everything that was in the can, or just the broken items that were in there?
Go ahead.
So in the can there was cigarette packs, food, leftover food, papers. There was also a broken plate that was in there. It was all taken. And when we process stuff like that, I had to take it out and lay it out because I have to photograph it all. So I took it out.
Oh no, little rat, that's a bummer. Happy New Year, babe, she says. My ham glaze is gluten-free. My family is stuck at the airport, and NTC depart time is 6:10 now as we're eating out New Year's Day. Dumbed at midnight. Bless your heart, babe. Well, they'll get there. They'll get there. I'm sorry that they got delayed. It's a bummer. I'm sorry.
Placed out a tarp to keep it to where I could lay it all out, take a picture, and photograph the whole thing.
Sometimes when I go to a crime scene, I stick my hands in my pocket and just kind of let the scene talk to me. You know, what's there and what does that mean? Do you look for evidence to see where you can take an inference and say, okay, I see this evidence. This probably means this. You ever do that?
I mean, sometimes, but what we typically do is we give the information we find to the detectives because they're the ones that have been talking to people. You know, we say this is possible, this may not be possible, this is the evidence we found. You know, and then they basically put it together with their statements and people that they've interviewed and whatnot like that.
Yeah, Gary Farris was dead on the day that you went out there and processed that. But in his trash can, was there any indication whether or not he liked Mountain Dew?
Yes, there was a plethora of Mountain Dew cans.
Lots of them?
Yes.
Did you also help process some, I guess, some shoes and a shirt?
Yes, sir.
Tell us about that.
At one point, we were kind of coming through the master bedroom. I would assume the master bedroom in the house, or in a study. And in the closet in that bedroom, there was a red colored shirt that had several stains on it, which was photographed. And then there was also several pairs of shoes that had. There was I think one was a teal colored pair of shoes, and the other one was a multicolored pair of shoes. They were in the same closet, and both of them had stains on them, which were tested. And obviously, I photographed the shoes.
Did you find anything that was consistent with soot or ash or anything like that?
So on the red shirt that I photographed, I noticed a black stain. I believe it was on the back, down around the bottom, and it had the appearance of ash or soot.
And then someone else was processed that?
I'm assuming yes.
And
hold on a minute.
Garbage can, did you...
Excuse me, Mr. Prosecutor Man. Okay, I know that they can't get into the details of this type of evidence, right? So they're just going through what it is that they found, because what this officer did was basically document the scene, which I get that. But one thing that I haven't heard yet is what was found in the actual burn pile besides Gary. Like, when he was put on the burn pile, was he wearing clothes? Were there articles of clothing found in the burn pile? I need to know who it is, whose shirt they're talking about with the soot stain on the back, potentially. I need to know who owned the teal shoes. I need to know these things. Sprinkled Donut, there is not court today. This is a case that's already gone to court back in October. But what happened was Melody Farris's trial was at the same time as Sarah Boone. Or it might have started like right before Boone, but I knew Boone's was going to be starting. And so I was reluctant to cover this trial because they said it was going to be a long trial. Boone's was only supposed to be, I think, 2 weeks. And so I didn't want to start one trial, and get us all into it. And then there was no way I was not going to cover Sarah Boone, which, by the way, just in case, if y'all were not here yesterday, prepare yourselves. Everybody brace yourselves. This is Sarah Boone. This is Sarah Boone's newest mugshot from prison in Ocala, Florida. This evening, after I'm done with this, I will start looking into the prison that she has now been transferred to. It sounds to me like it's more of a diagnostic center, kind of similar to what Chris Watts was sent. Well, he's there permanently, but I think what they do is it's not permanent. It doesn't sound like it. Sounds like it's temporary. So we'll see. But I'll find all of those things out for you guys and tonight after I'm done streaming this. And believe me, this weekend we will be doing a Sarah Boone live because there needs to be a dedicated stream just to that mugshot. All right, here we go.
Think there was possible blood on that, or did you?
I did.
So
that on one of the garbage cans downstairs, I noticed two reddish brown stains, and at the time, based on the scene, I assumed that they may be blood based off the color.
Your very bright
so
sprinkled
I did
donut.
collect them so they
Don't
could
you
be
worry
tested
about that.
to see if they were in fact blood.
The parts are stipulated to the GBI reports; those are going to come in. But do you even know what the results are on some of those?
Not on all of them, no.
And it is what it is, and we'll bring those in. We stipulated to those, but everything that you process, the tractor, the RTV, helping with that, the cans, the garbage cans, the swabbings from those, and everything else. Did you properly follow your procedures to bag those, maintain those, and make sure that they got to the GBI properly for testing?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Hold
Did
on.
you ever go to the barn and check out?
I heard that, Patricia. So Patricia says this trial was big. It was like watching a whole series of Dallas with a climactic conclusion included. I heard that. And can't wait to get there. And Jennifer says, I have a reason to celebrate. I went to the doctor on Friday. I have more to go, but I am down 67 pounds. Congratulations. That is not easy. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. Way to go, babe. Way to go.
The barn and see if you find any evidence of there.
So I believe it was the second day. Let me just verify.
I know you said the 6th, if that's right.
The 6th, yeah. When I went back out there, I was asked to do a walkthrough of the barn with the detective. So basically, I walked through with one of the detectives, and I had my camera on my neck, and basically we were checking each other. So we walked through. Does he see something else? Oh, based off of how the investigation is moving. Okay, now I need this as evidence. Now I need this as evidence. Now I need this as evidence. So then we start taking more photographs and start documenting more things. And if we need to collect something else, we collect it.
At that point, what did you know about a gun being involved, or what was your mindset, your present sense of approach at that time? What was going on involving the gun?
I mean, I knew we were potentially looking for a smaller caliber handgun of some kind.
When did you know about the bullet in the rib?
When?
Do you remember?
I want to say it was I can't remember. I mean, I know it was either late the first night or early the next morning, but I think it was the first night.
When you arrived, was the bullet found yet in the ribs, or was that after?
I can't recall an exact timeline.
But is it fair to say most of your investigation, while you're processing the scene, you were investigating a murder?
Yes.
Or investigating a crime, I guess I should say.
Yes.
I didn't know if when you first arrived, if you thought it was an accident, someone had a heart attack, or were you actually, it was an investigation?
I mean, in a situation like this, obviously you assume the worst and hope for the best.
Sure. And you worked with law enforcement officers a long time?
Yes.
Gallows humor sometimes. They can work things off, or they're cynical at times?
Correct.
Do y'all begin with, oftentimes there's a theory, or maybe there's crime, and you work it until it stops? In other words, there's no more evidence?
I mean, I would say that's fair and accurate.
And in this case, when you were doing your task in that, were you just focused on what you were assigned to do and try to find any type of evidence?
So I hope this answers your question. So, like, prime example, when I was tasked to do the tractor, I was looking for any evidence I could find on the tractor, whether it be blood or any other substance that would indicate any sort of criminal offense or other explanation. So does that help? So
sure.
I mean, so basically, when we get there, we're kind of geared. We talk to the detective. Hey, what are you looking for? What do you need? And then that kind of gears us in the direction of what we're looking.
And then you independently at times can just follow the scene where it goes.
Correct.
So a couple of things here. Melody is not a very tall woman. Now, I will say this, that size is not really indicative of strength, because I've seen small people be incredibly strong. In fact, stronger than people who are taller than they are, bigger than they are, way more than they do. So that's not always indicative of strength. However, I think Gary was like 200 some odd pounds. And at the end of the day, that's a lot of weight to move. And I find it interesting. I am very curious how he got from the basement upstairs and out of the home and onto that burn pile. Now, to be clear, that burn pile, it's not like, in the middle of the woods. Like, it's not a mile down, a mile away from the home. I mean, it's not on top of the house, but it's not like an incredible distance either. But one does have to wonder how he got to that burn pile. And so that's why they're checking out the tractor. And it's curious to me that at this point, it seems like maybe there wasn't blood, because from that, or anything that was, see, Patricia, maybe I heard, because we watched the opening, where we watched the opening statements yesterday, and the defense says that there wasn't anything found in the tractor, in the bucket of the tractor. But maybe I misunderstood that. And I will agree with this as well. Neat Noodle says you can accomplish extraordinary things with the right motivation. Correct. So I'm really, curious to hear about how this plays out. And Patricia reminds us that where he was shot has huge doors leading out to ground level. Yes, that's true. I forgot the layout of the house, but yeah, that's still like a lot of human to move. You know what I mean? So I'm, kind of, hopefully they get there. This is still early on. This is really only the third witness. The first two witnesses, the first witness was the paramedic who arrived on scene. Her testimony was very, very brief. The second was a patrol officer who also arrived on scene. His testimony was very, very brief. And now this is the third state witness. So we've only had, plus the 911 call. So.
Now, when you went into the barn, did you find a gun?
Yes, we found a 32 caliber. I think it was a 32 caliber firearm, revolver.
Now, does Cherokee County have many murders per year? Do y'all respond to a lot of murders? Not really.
Not really. I mean,
So,
compared to the other surrounding, more metro jurisdictions, no.
So not a lot of major violent
No.
crimes. Had you worked a case like this in a burning or something? Was this the first time?
This was the first time.
And would you, for most of the other officers, the same thing is true too?
I mean, I would assume. I don't know the other crime scene technicians' training and experience, but I would assume it was,
So when you're working a case and there's a bullet in someone's ribs that's been burned, why are you interested in finding a gun?
Because at that point, I believe a reasonable and prudent person would believe that there was some kind of foul play.
And when you found this gun, what did you notice about the gun? First of all, where was it at? What type of gun was it, and what did you notice about it?
It was a 32 caliber revolver. It appeared to be old. I believe it was in a cabinet in the barn.
Okay, this is very interesting that Patricia says, and I have to agree. Patricia says, what I find worse is that the burn pile would have had to be diligently attended to cause the extent of damage found on his body. You're correct. Because only 33 or 38, I cannot remember now, pounds of Gary Farris were found. I forget what temperature a crematorium fire burns at, but it is an extremely high temperature. And it's not just that you have to keep the temperature high. You have to keep the temperature consistently high. It is not easy at all. And the fact that in order to accomplish what was accomplished, Patricia's right. There's no other way to say it. It has to be attended to constantly. Thank you, Patricia. 180 degrees, which doesn't, like, when you just say it like that, 180, that doesn't sound like a whole lot when you think about like an oven, okay? And what you would cook a turkey at, which is, some people do 325, some people do 350. Either way, 180 doesn't sound like a lot, but to have an open fire, meaning outside, outdoors, to keep that temperature high enough to do the damage that it did, you have to want to do it. You can't do that on accident. You can't be like, I accidentally got this fire this hot, and it's not done by accident. This is something that somebody wanted done. It was intentional. It was purposeful. Okay. And they're talking about firearms that were found, and they found a 32 in the barn in a cabinet. However, Gary, the bullets recovered were 38s. All right, here we go.
Kind of off the tack, like a tack room, I believe. And obviously the first thing, one of the first things we do is we photograph it. And then obviously we inspect it to see if there's any rounds that have been fired or anything in it. And that's easy with the revolver recently because you can open the cylinder and look, and you can look at the primers on all of them. And none of the primers in that weapon that were loaded in the weapon had been fired. So it was photographed and left in place.
So it did not appear to be recently fired?
No.
How about the ammunition? Was the ammunition accounted for?
I remember taking pictures of lots of different ammunition for different caliber firearms.
But didn't see anything out of the ordinary?
No.
No blood, no dirty, no moved, or anything that looks like it was recently used in any way?
Didn't appear to be to me, no.
All right, tell the jury, if you would, are you a gun guy?
I am.
Like guns?
I'm not an expert, but I like guns. I like to shoot.
You have more common knowledge. You think somebody doesn't use guns?
Probably.
I'm not going to ask you how many guns you own because I wouldn't want you to ask me how many I own. But what is the difference between, say, a 32 and a 38 and a 357?
Size.
Okay.
Size, speed, weight of the cartridge.
All right, for people that don't know, let me just start on this side, going from small to large. 22, then you step over a 32 bullet, then a 38.
Yep.
357.
Correct.
All right. Can those be shot in a revolver?
Yes.
And they're usually in revolvers.
Yes.
What's a 380 and a 9 though?
Typically, 380s and 9mm are
The short nines,
they're semi-automatic. They're not revolvers. They hold magazines with 7, 10, 15 rounds typically.
And cowboy gun is kind of what the revolver is. Has that cylinder.
Correct.
And don't get upset when I say this, but oftentimes people say with a semi-automatic it has a clip in it. I know it's a magazine, not supposed to have a clip, but that's where you put the magazine and charge it racket.
Correct.
And a 32 is the most commonly used in a revolver.
As far as I know, but there could be something else out there. But as far as I know, it's typically a revolver.
How about a 38 special? Can it be shot out like a 357 or a 44 or something like that?
Yes.
So it's small enough to go through the bigger barrel.
So I have a 357.
What brand you got?
Ruger SP 101. So a lot of times if I'm just target practicing, I'll shoot 38 ball ammo out of it because you can't go the other way. But because it's cheaper and it has less recoil and it's just fun to shoot. Now you can't put a 357 in a 38; it won't work. But you can go backwards.
Okay, so you can go up, you just can't go down.
Right.
You know how many pictures you took?
I have no idea.
Have you had an opportunity to meet with me? Probably too many times and look at your photographs.
Yeah, we looked through quite a few photographs.
All right, I'm going to State's Exhibit Stewart 1 through 131. I'm going to turn those into evidence of this time. Okay. See if you ever need to get some water or anything, make yourself comfortable.
Oh, good, sir.
but these are so they can go out to the jury. These are states. Stewart 1 with 131. I'll bring them up on the computer too.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge. Thanks, Shane.
Screen look like that. I can see it.
Yours is
Yeah,
just
sorry.
While this is loading up, Lieutenant.
It's
what
up
about
now, sir.
Oh, there it is. Purcell Lane. What is this in?
Cherokee County, sir.
And is it a nice area of the county?
It is.
Is it beautiful?
It is.
All right, this is Stewart 1. We're going to walk through. What I want to do is, obviously, the jury's not there at the time that the processing is taking place. I'm going to ask a question, but I really want you to kind of think through the eyes of a juror. And you've seen it, you know it, but some things may not be in their mind as is. As we come into this, and we know that you come up the driveway and you turn right to go to the barn. Is that right?
Correct.
And tell us what we're seeing here in Stewart 1. Now, I probably just refer to it as 1 or 2 or 3, but we're talking about the Stewart exhibit.
Okay.
So in States 1 here, what do we see?
So what you see off to the left is the barn. Well, it's got 2 sliding barn doors on the front, and then just off to the right of that, you see basically 2 sheds where obviously various equipment. I mean, you can keep.
Okay, I want to highlight what Patricia said, because I was asking if there was an accelerant used. And Patricia says citronella oil was. Now, I was curious about that because first of all, 180 degrees is not, it's hot, but it's not that hot. And number 2, because I wondered about the smell. And this kind of explains it. So, thanks, Patricia.
Equipment. And
When you're looking at this, that barn on the left, and where was Scott's apartment be, the son's apartment?
above the barn to the second story. Second floor.
Hey, Rachel,
Kind of,
good to see you, babe. Happy New
Describe the
Year.
apartment, the loft over the barn. What would it be like?
I mean, it's just a standard apartment, bedroom, bathroom, living room area, kitchen.
Kind of more equivalent to a hunting cabin, or more equivalent to like a fancy apartment down in Atlanta?
I would say more equivalent to maybe a man room, hunting cabin, something like that.
Like a bachelor was living there,
Basically, yeah.
who's a hunter or something like that?
Correct.
What do we see in one here straight ahead? What are those things?
With trailers parked in front of.
This is now 2. What do we have here?
Those are basically, I mean, I consider them storage sheds. So like you can back trailers under them, you can park equipment under them, trucks under them, whatever. They've got various tools in them, basically used for storage.
I'm never good at this. My wife has to correct me all the time. Is that lean-to or is it pole barn? Or what would you call that?
I mean, I call it pole barn.
Okay. And States 3, what do we have here?
So it's the one on the left, I believe. There's basically various tools in there: lawnmowers, shovels, tillers, various household, outside working tools.
4, moving to the left of that view, that same shed.
Okay.
What do we have here?
Just the other side, you have a tiller, a trailer, gas cans, a small pull behind looks like fertilizer spreader, a push mower, sprinklers, just various lawn equipment.
All right, States 5, what do we see on this wall?
On the wall, you have basically what you call, I would call it a sickle on the end. You've got a shelf, you got rakes, shovels, chain,
Tools. State 6, looking at the front of this, just other things in that shed, is that right?
Yeah, so you got a shelf full of buckets and gas cans, and then to the left of that looks like you got a climbing ladder stand for like a hunter.
Just going around. Do you try to capture the scene as it is, not knowing whether or not it's relevant at the time?
Correct. So when you take photographs, the first thing you do is you take overall photographs. So basically, if you had to go back and overlay something on top of it, you could completely recreate the scene. And then once you find out what your evidence is, you go back and you take the other photographs, mid-range close-ups, stuff like that.
Stewart 8 here, the right side of the right sheds here.
Yes.
Is there anything in those, or are they I guess the right one's empty, is that right?
I believe the right one's empty, yeah. Well, except for, looks like a planer.
Number 9, and when you look at this, it looks like a planter and some things have been strapped to the top.
Yeah, that's probably where, my guess is where they put the seed, all the seed, and looks like a planter.
I don't know if you call those toe straps. What do you call those straps?
I mean,
Those come along straps?
Ratchet straps is
Ratchet
what I call
straps.
them. But
You use those at your farm?
I don't know if that's the technical term, but that's what I call them.
Stewart 10, just empty, right side of the shed here, is that right?
Yes.
All right, Stewart 11. Tell the jury what we see in this photograph and kind of where it's at in relation to everything else on the property.
So this is behind. So what I see here is like, obviously you're looking kind of at the side of the right shed. Looking down, there's obviously another lean-to or pole barn or whatever you want to call it off to the back. There's various other equipment, and then wheelbarrows, storage ladders, and then down behind that, parked next to a mulch pile is the Kubota tractor that I mentioned processing earlier.
And this Kubota, what does it have on the front and what does it have on the back?
So on the front, it's got a loader, which is commonly used farm stuff. Then on the back, we'll have to get closer, but there's an implement on the back, like a small set of harrows or a drag plow or something like that. But
Stewart 12 just showing a view looking at, I guess, the front of the tractor. Is that right?
correct.
Now, describe for the jury what is to the left of the tractor, and is there anything in it, or is it empty?
The left.
This is the whole lean-to issue with me. You see that, that
okay.
roof that comes over?
I'm looking at it from being on the tractor. So
Okay. All right. So as you're looking at this photograph,
Right.
tractor's to your right.
Correct.
To the left, that little shed area. What's in there?
Looks like on the left, it kind of looks like a wood chipper. We've got some various piping hanging on the wall, a wheelbarrow, and then looks like a plastic storage, like a storage container to store liquid. Or
Did you learn where the tractor was normally parked, whether it's normally parked under there or out like this?
I don't recall where it was normally parked. I know me personally, I keep my stuff under the barn because I want to take care of it. But I don't know. Some people keep stuff outside.
Stewart 13, we're looking at the right side of the tractor.
Correct.
Want to kind of focus in on those tires. Did you notice anything about the tractor's condition, whether it's clean, not clean, or otherwise?
It looks relatively well taken care of. Cleanish. It's got some dirt on it. Got some dirt on the tires.
Stewart 14, going back looking at that, what I call a rake, or what would you call the implement on the back of the tractor?
A rake of some sort. I don't know what the technical term is. Some sort of harrow rake, something like that.
And what is that usually used for?
That in particular, I'm not real sure. I would be assuming it's for moving ground.
All right, say Stewart's 15 on the back side. Who's that gentleman standing there to the right? Do you know?
That looks like Detective Kuykendall.
And he's not crime scene. He's just a
detective. He's a sergeant in our criminal investigations division.
This is a back view of the tractor. Has that what I call a rake on the back. Left side, just seeing the tractor's position on Stewart 16.
Yes.
Stewart 17, kind of another going around it. You just try to walk around. Is that what you're doing?
Correct. So I'm doing overalls. So I'm taking pictures of the overall piece of equipment going around.
And Stewart 18 is coming to the scoop or the bucket, or
Yes.
what'd you call it?
The bucket.
19, a little closer on the back. All right, 20, I want to go around through. I think we got pictures of the tires beginning on the right side, the right back. What do you notice about this tire?
As far as there's dirt on the outside of the tire. It's
Stewart 21, as we're going to the front. Stewart 22, what do you notice about the front right tire?
there's dirt caked in the tread of the tire on the front where it's stopped.
Stewart 23, front bucket. If I said that bucket's about 5 feet in length, would you disagree with that?
I'd probably say close. I don't know the exact dimensions of the bucket, but I'd probably say that's close.
All right, 26, that's the front right.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm going to back up just a little bit. You see on Stewart 22, you see that white round part on the tractor.
You talking about the oil filter?
Yeah, the filter. So Stewart 26, you're talking about the front right.
Yes.
Stewart 27, what is this picture of?
It's the front right tire.
The mud on the tire.
Yes.
Stewart 28, back picture of the right front tire. Is that right?
I think so. I can't really tell.
And then Stewart 29, the back right.
Yes.
Stewart 29, the back right. Stewart 30, excuse me. All right, now, on the left side, the writing's on the other side. Let me go back so you know this. So you see in Stewart 20, you see that HST is on the right there. Now we're on the left side. So left back tire, describe that for us.
It's got some earth, looks like earth debris on or dirt, leaves, whatever on the top.
32, just another picture of it.
Close up picture.
33, this is the left step.
Correct.
Now, Stuart, 34. What are we focusing on here, kind of towards the top of the step?
So about, I don't know, 2/3 of the way across, the very top of the step, there's several small reddish brown stains, and that's a close-up photo of it.
Is that seen here in Stuart 35?
Yes.
Do you have training in detecting blood or seeing blood?
Yes.
What kind of training do you have in that?
So, in my career, I've seen lots of human blood over the course of 26 years of working the road, being on wrecks, answering calls. But we also, as a crime scene technician, there's a 40-hour class you have to take. It's called blood stain pattern analysis. So it helps you learn how to identify different stains, stuff like that.
And what do you learn in those classes? That's just basically what, when it comes to blood splatter or blood patterns or things like that.
So you learn how to determine, like in certain things, like certain instance, area of impact, area of origin. So like it doesn't really apply in this case, but because obviously we don't have anything else than just one piece of evidence. But so if you have, a blood spatter on the wall, it's here, and somebody says I was standing up and I was hitting the head with something, you basically can say, well, I don't think that's the case because the area of origin would be down here. So you learn how to pull measurements and strings and whatnot to kind of determine. You learn directionality of blood drops. So you learn, basically that 90-degree droplets are round. You learn various patterns of blood. There's all kind of patterns of blood. White patterns, saturation patterns. Basically, it's just the scientific way to describe what kind of pattern it is. So, for example, if it's a white pattern, I'm sure everybody's seen where somebody's tried to clean something up and they wipe it in a circle. You can tell obviously that that's what they call a white pattern. It means it looks like it's been tried to be wiped up. Or you have a swipe pattern, which means like if I'm bleeding from the hand and I walk by this wall and I brush it, obviously that's two different looks. That's what they would call a swipe pattern. Basically, I swipe something across, I swipe the object across. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. So if I was shot in the arm and held my arm out and blood would drop 90 degrees down vertical, what would it look like?
It would be completely round.
And can blood be transferred from one place to another?
Yes.
From one substance or thing to another?
Correct.
When you look at this, can you tell if this has any indication of any of those things you talk about?
It could be any number of things. It could be a transfer stain. It could be
it could be a drop.
It could be a drop because you have one looks like 90 degree on the right, but that could have come off something as well.
But it could have been transferred.
Could have been transfer. There's no way I can definitively give you the answer.
Stuart 36.
Yes.
Hold on, I want to say something really quickly before I forget. I think that's important testimony right there. To know they can say that the blood that it is definitively whether it is blood or not, whether it is human blood or not, whose blood that is, but they cannot ever say how that got there. So that's that.
Just a closer of that.
It's another close up. It's done with a ABFO scale that we use those in close up photographs so that people can get a size reference on how the size of something. So if we have to go back and recreate something later, if something has to be recreated later, you can get approximate size.
And technically, I think this was going to be GBI out of 1919B, and it's the swab 2 sample that you took. So this is the sample of blood from the tractor that you took and was turned into the GBI.
Yes, sir.
And when you take swabs, we're simulating this, so it doesn't really matter, but when you take a swab, how many swabs are you doing?
So it depends. So on something like this, I took, because I have one sample, I do 2. So when you collect this sample, it was dry. So if it's wet, you don't have to do anything. You can just swab it up. If it's dry, you have to use some sort of substance to be able to lift it. So we use sterile water, denatured water, whatever you want to call it. So the first thing that we do is we're going to use 2 swabs. The first one, we put the water comes in little vials.
Thank you, Patricia and Shelley Bean. I've been here since the first week of December. Let me just say this: complete and total sidebar, but okay, Texas, way North Texas weather, winters. Now, Neat and I have discussed this. It's definitely not Wisconsin winter weather, I should say, but it is not Florida weather. is cold. It's going to get even colder. It is what it is. My blood, it has not thickened enough. I'm still on Florida. My body's like, she's going to go back. She's going to go back. No, no need to thicken up anything. No, don't, let's not be hasty. Keep it thin. So probably not this winter, but maybe by next winter, my body will be like, oh, okay, this hoe's going to stay. So we better make some changes. And yes, I would have moved anywhere to be closer to my daughter and my grandchildren. I forgot, I had something funny to tell you guys. Oh, you guys know how I always refer to Amy L as, she looks like Roz from Monsters Inc. You forgot to fill out your paperwork last night. Okay. Well, my little granddaughter just absolutely loves Monsters Inc. and just absolutely laughs her whole little head off whenever I do Roz. So, yeah. Well, Patricia, it's like, it's not, yeah, a little bit. The weather is like a culture shock. I'm from here. So it's not like I've never had Texas winters or I don't know what I'm in for or whatever. Like it's not a surprise, but my body is like, no, what are you doing? We are used to 364 days of, sunshine and maybe, 62 on average, maybe a little warmer, maybe a little cooler sometimes, but, pleasant, mild, not really winters. Yeah, my body is over it. And I don't care because I would live on the forest moon of Endor if I could be close to my grandbaby and my daughter.
If that helps you guys out to kind of picture it. So you drop the water on top of the first swab. It looks like a big Q-tip basically, and you put that in. You package that so that way they can go back and you can go back and show later that the water was not contaminated. The water wasn't. There was nothing wrong with it. It was sterile. It came from a sterile environment. And then you go back and you wet the second Q-tip because the moisture in the water is what's going to basically reconstitute enough of it to where it's not going to turn into liquid again, but it'll reconstitute it enough to get it to lift with that, and then that got packaged as well.
And as you did in this case, when you package something, just describe the packaging that's put in to secure.
Any type of biological evidence, such as blood, gets packaged in paper or cardboard, and the reason that it does is because obviously, everybody's put stuff in a plastic bag and seen it turn to mold or, seen it grow things inside. Well, because this is biological evidence, it goes inside typically we use swab boxes, so they come flat like this, and you have to fold them up and make a box out of them, and they have a little tab, 2 perforated tabs that pop up that though it's a long swab, so like a longer dental type swab that slides in there.
Oh, wow.
So that's the way we package them, so that way, because cardboard's porous, so that way it can dry, and it doesn't allow moisture to stay in there and turn things moldy or growth and whatever.
Well, now that's a bit of interesting testimony. I did not realize that there's a bit of arts and crafts along with CSI, that you have to assemble the box. Patricia, would you move somewhere if the local supermarket was an Inuit's fishing hole inside a tent? Yes, I would. I haven't, Shelly Bean, I haven't done Aunt Brenda for her yet, but I should. She does actually really like my impressions. She also likes it when I do Boo and I do the Mike Wazowski. She likes that one too. We've been talking about Halloween costumes, and I told her I was going to go trick-or-treating with her dressed as Roz. So she seemed to like that. So yay. All right.
Going from there, Stewart 37, just front left tire. Stewart 38, same thing. And then 39, do you just start walking around the backside of the barn?
Yes.
Stewart 40. Stewart 41.
Also, they're just flipping
42.
around, so I'm going to mute
Stewart 40.
a little, turn it down a little bit. But I will say that I don't know who was in charge of organizing all of the things in the barn, but whoever it was is incredibly well organized, because when I think back to,
Were there animals on the property when y'all were out there? Do you remember?
oh gosh, what is his name? The corn rake trial, Todd Mullins. Mullis, Todd Mullis. When I think of that trial, and I remember the pictures of the barn, how it was very disorganized and things are sort of put away haphazardly. This is not that at all. At all. This is like incredibly
On the property?
organized,
I don't recall, but I would assume I did.
which I personally like.
Stewart 56.
That was, oh, speaking of, hang on a minute. So I don't know how many of you guys know this, but one of Todd Mullis's trial was one of the first trials, if not the first trial that I ever covered on this channel. And I did it with Criminality, Teresa. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. But he has been appealing his conviction since he was convicted. And there's supposed to be some type of something going on with that appeal. And I think it's going to take place this year. I think there's like a hearing or something going on with that, because, he's basically petitioned for a new trial. So I'll write that down and remember to update you guys. I should do that. Oh, and speaking of other updates, just sidebar real quick. Sorry to anybody on replay, just skip forward a little bit. I'll be done shortly. I had a series on the channel called What Happened To, or Whatever Happened To. I don't remember what I named it, something like that. But one of the stories that I covered was the story out of Channel View about the Pom Pom Mom. She is the woman who solicited to have her daughter's cheerleading rival's mother unalived. Wanda Holloway, and the potential victim was going to be Verna Heath. Okay. Her daughter, Shanna Harper, has come out and spoken. And she said some really interesting things. There is a documentary on it where they go through the whole backstory of everything that happened, but it's with Shanna's commentary added. And there's some other people. It's on HBO Max. It is very, very good. You should absolutely, definitely check it out, because I plan to talk about it. That's another thing I want to do for 2025. The other thing I want to talk about as well is there are 2 documentaries that have just come out on Peacock. One of them is called The Making of Manson. Very, very interesting. It is phone calls with Manson and someone else. They're very, very similar to the jail recordings or prison recordings that, oh my gosh, why is Rob Zombie released? Quite interesting. There's another documentary on Peacock about Richard Ramirez, and they're the Richard Ramirez tapes. That's the name of it. I have not watched that yet, but I also plan to cover both of those. The description on the Peacock documentary for Ramirez says that most of this is unheard. So I'm quite interested in all of that. And Patricia says, and it was the victim and his son Scott who kept this property in this good shape. Scott lived on the property in a separate dwelling. Yes, he lived on the property above the barn, is what I am understanding. Yes, it does to me too. Patricia says that Shanna Gardner case always makes me think of that country and western song, Harper Valley PTA. Yes. All right, so let's keep going. This is the cleanest barn I've ever seen in my life, I think. It's immaculate.
9, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65.
I have questions as well, Shelley Bean. I'm
66,
not 100%
67
convinced
not
that
counting
he's
the total
guilty
one.
at all.
Yes.
I think that he has a
68,
good case for a retrial,
69.
frankly.
70. And did you notice that there were ropes and other things around the property?
I mean, yeah, there was various, I mean, you see a rope hanging off the extension cords, there's ropes hanging on the wall, there was chains in one of the shed earlier, so yeah, there's ropes and chains all over the place.
72, now up to 73, 74, 75, 6, 77, 78. We see some of these rifle shotguns. Where are these?
You can, it looks like the bottom two are rifles, and I can't tell if the top one's a shotgun or a rifle.
Just going through the rest of these. Now, 83, this is the tack room for the horses. And the saddles.
It's one of the main, yeah, there's saddles in there, there's fishing rods, various things.
All right, then go back. Stewart, 94. What do we have a picture here? Can you see it?
I believe that's the 32 revolver we discussed earlier.
For the record, what are we looking at here in Stewart, 94? Describe it in words if you could.
It was you're talking about so we're in the tack room, there's a cabinet, or in one of the storage rooms, there's a cabinet. It's open, it's got various items in it, and then there's a 32 revolver, or there's a revolver laying underneath it with ammunition, boxes of ammunition inside it.
So Stewart, 95 shows the gun as you found it.
Yes.
Stewart, 96. What do we have here?
So that's the inside, like I previously mentioned, that's the, we obviously inspect the weapons when we pick them up. So we opened the cylinder and looked, and you can note that that's a 6-shot revolver, and there's the little round circles in the middle of the cartridges or the primers. And if those would have been fired, there would have been imagine like taking a nail, like taking a nail and hitting it on a piece of wood and then pulling it out. You'd have like a little indentation in the primer, showing that it had been fired. Then obviously we would have collected the shell casing.
97, just showing the name of the gun.
Yes, it's Winchester.
And then 98, some just pictures of the chicken coop, I guess.
Correct.
Just go through those. Now, 115. We'll now transition. I guess this will be on July 6th.
It
Processing
looks like the garbage cans downstairs. You can see the blue tarp that it's sitting on.
So, Stewart, 115. The garbage can, is that the picture, just a picture of the outside?
Correct.
I guess, what's that, blue tarp under it?
Yes.
Why do you do that?
Well, because I'm fixing to lay stuff out on it so that I can photograph it and take pictures, and I want to try to keep it as obviously I'm outside, so I want to try to keep it as sterile as possible.
116. Now, you don't.
I
you weren't
like
involved
this
in interviewing
officer.
people to know anything about a dish or why the dish is there.
No, I'm assuming it's in the garbage can because it's broken, but sometimes the smallest things can be evidence, so you
Sure,
can
no,
document
I'm
everything.
not disputing that, but the point is you didn't talk to witnesses, know anything
No,
about it.
they're not.
You just found it. So, Stewart, 116. What do we see here?
So like I mentioned earlier, there was food in the garbage can, packs of cigarettes, and then obviously a broken plate.
Okay.
117. I guess what you do is you peel the onion, you take some off.
Let me just make a little mention here, okay? We learned from opening statements presented by the state that Scott was a smoker. I am also a smoker. And I can't, even the times that I've tried to quit, it isn't like I didn't throw cigarettes away, is my point. I would finish the pack and then be like, okay, now I'm going to quit. So for a smoker to have a pack of cigarettes with any cigarettes still in that pack, that would be sus AF. All right, here we go.
Take another layer off.
Correct. So first, like if I was doing this, I would take an overall picture of the top of the garbage can, then I would take a few things out, take pictures again, so that way everything can be photographed. Then you systematically lay it out across the tarp, which I'm sure you'll see that in a minute, and then you take an overall photograph of the top so you can see everything at one time that was found in there.
Speaking of Todd Kendhammer, True Psych Ward has quite a few videos, interrogation videos. Maybe it's just the interrogation video. I can't remember, but she has things that she requested from law enforcement in that case on her channel. If you're interested, I will push play and I'll go grab her channel link. Un momentito.
Y'all don't just willy-nilly get some evidence and throw it there in the back of the truck. Are y'all
No.
very careful and punctilious in how you actually go through all the evidence, step by step, piece by piece, make sure you're processing it,
Yes.
packaging it right?
Yes.
All right, 118. What is this?
That's a picture of that's a close-up picture of the broken plate laying on the tarp.
119? Still going through
We're
the
back in the garbage can again.
120? What do we have here?
Photographs of the papers,
121?
plant leaves, there's food.
122 showing some documents and food.
Yes.
123 you're laying it out, is that right?
Correct.
124. What is the photograph 124? Stuart 124.
So it was a document that was found in the garbage can. It was referenced second quarter earnings from looks like talk about finances.
Who is it addressed to, this document?
Equity Partners.
From Leo Howell?
Yes.
What date was it?
It was dated June 12th of 2018.
And regards, what does it say? Or reference?
So it says reference second quarter earnings. Want me to continue to read it, or?
Yeah, if you could, just for the record.
So it says enclosed are the following estimated earnings through the second quarter of 2018 and the summary income statement through May 31st, 2018. Second quarter live tax draw check, or if you elected direct deposit, you can view your stub on, looks like myburr.com, but it's all wrinkled, so I can't.
Right, and then there's, says LRH and attachments.
Correct.
Stuart 125, did you find this in the garbage can?
Correct.
Can you, let me pull it down here. Stuart 125, what's it say at the top, the best you
So
can
it
do?
says estimated year-to-date earnings. It looks like it says cumulative by quarter.
If you could, there's 1, 2, 3, are there 4 columns on this piece of paper or this document?
Yes, sir.
And the left column, is it kind of by, it says something about by quarter and partner, is that right?
Correct.
And then what is listed in that column below alphabetically?
It looks, to a layperson, and to me, it looks like last names.
Okay? But it makes out a name.
See, that's my point too, Jennifer. Years ago, I was in the hospital for 8 days. You could still smoke in hospitals at that time, but my doc ripped my cig in half. I didn't quit because I had 8 packs out of a carton left. Yeah, see, it's just not usual. I mean, I can only speak for me as a smoker. I would not have thrown cigarettes away. You know what I mean? Like even when I quit, I might have kept like a couple, but I kept a couple. I didn't. The only time that I've ever just been able to quit with no help or anything like that was when I was pregnant, because they made me sick.
Yes.
Stuart 126, what do we have here?
That looks like a 28.
Yeah, everybody loves to get this thing, don't they? The tax bill.
Absolutely. It's the 2018 tax statement for the 2155 Purcell Lane.
Cherokee County Board of Assessors. Is that
Yes.
what's labeled at the top? So it's
Yes.
Stuart 126. Who is it made out to?
It's made out to Gary W. Ferris and Melody W. Ferris.
So both names are on it.
Correct.
What's the address?
The address that we're here for today, 2155 Purcell Lane.
So 2155 Purcell Lane?
Yes, sir.
Official tax matter. And it says it's annual assessment notice date, May 14, 2018.
Yes.
And then last date to file written repeal, June 28, 2018.
Yes.
Congratulations on quitting, Jennifer. I've not been successful yet.
So for the property, current year fair market value of property, what is that?
Looks like $1,036,900.
So $1,036,900?
Correct.
And that was the value of it back in 2018?
Correct. According to the county, yes.
Stuart 127, what is this document?
It's a pay statement, a paper copy of a pay statement to address to Gary Ferris.
Stuart 127, if you look at to the right over here, what is the period start date and the period end date?
Shows it's the month of May, so May 1st, 2018 to May 31st, 2018.
Okay. What is the pay group?
Birmingham Monthly, it says.
What was the job?
Partner Equity.
Okay.
Has a pay rate?
So let me
Says
see what else is going on
$159.05.
here.
I don't understand what that means as far as, but
Let's get his cross.
Let me-
Because I think we pretty much see where he's going.
Which one
Well,
we got
there's only a
stored?
little bit left before
There's Stewart
the,
128.
yeah, this is almost over. I want to finish and see what.
Stewart 120, kind of the same thing,
Correct.
just a clear copy.
Yes.
And this pay date is
What else
April.
he
April
April instead
collected.
of May.
pretty much very similar to the Stewart 127, but after, not the gross, but the net. What is the amount for that month?
It says,
Oh.
total says $20,969.37.
This is an interesting theory, Shelley Bean says. I watched the Just Thought Lounge breakdown of the Melody Farris case, and it made me wonder if she set up evidence against Scott and was disappointed when the police didn't investigate Scott's place. Interesting. I'm going to keep that little nugget in the back of my head for later.
And then 131. Judge, can I just have one moment?
Probably a good time for a break.
They're going to take a break anyway, so let's just move on. And there's nothing else
All
anyway.
right, we'll take a short break.
Here is
Take 10 minutes.
him on cross.
All right, Mr. Ray, go ahead.
Good morning, Lieutenant.
Let me see
Morning,
what
sir. How are
else. Let's see how long the cross
Good.
goes.
you? First, I want to start with, you had made a statement with Mr. Focused on direct examination that when you go out as a crime scene technician, that you're very meticulous in what you're doing, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And y'all try to look everywhere you can, looking for evidence, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when you got there on the 5th, you had testified previously that the first thing you do is talk to the detective in charge.
Typically. Yes.
Now, in this case, you didn't talk to Detective Pace, did you? When you first got there.
I believe I went straight to the crime scene, who was leading the crime scene stuff, because they were already there.
Yeah, and that would have been Lieutenant Ballard.
Either Ballard or Shaw.
Okay. So those would have been the ones who were giving you directives on what you need to do.
Correct.
Okay. Is it your understanding, though, that Detective Hayes is the actual detective who is in charge of the investigation?
Yes.
Okay. So Detective Ballard or Detective Shaw is in charge of the crime scene. Detective Hayes is in charge of the crime scene and interview.
Of the overall investigation,
Okay.
yes, because it all bleeds back into one another.
Okay. Did you ever talk to Detective Hayes about the case?
Have I? I mean, what you talking about while I was on scene, or are you talking
While
about?
you're on scene, within a relative, let's say on the 3rd or the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th.
I mean, I'm sure we spoke if we were both out there, but I don't remember the nature of our conversation.
So it would have been Ballard or Shaw that gave you your directive to begin with the barn.
Correct.
Okay. Now I want to start. We're going to start with the tractor step, but we'll go to.
You know what's interesting to me is the questions that defense attorneys ask and the notes that they take. And I don't know why. I don't understand why they take the notes, because don't they depose these state witnesses normally? I don't know. It's just interesting that they take notes. I don't know what that means, though. Let me keep going. I don't even know why I paused. Yeah, I do. I had to pause for fair use.
The Kubota, because you had done a lot of photographs of the Kubota. Now, you had taken touch DNA, right?
Correct.
You took 9 swabs from all over the Kubota.
Yes, I can give you the locations that I took it if you need me to.
Well, I was going to go through them, so just go ahead and list off the locations where you took the contact swabs.
Okay. So the first swab was obviously, I talked about using a control sample initially whenever we take them. So the first swab was the control sample, so it was just right out of the package into the box. The second sample was from the steering wheel. The third sample was from the 3-point hitch lever. That's the lever that raises the implement on the back up and down on the tractor. The power takeoff switch, that's what turns on the PTO that actually if you have a push hog or a mower or something that runs off a power takeoff on the back, it runs that. The fifth one was the hand throttle lever, which is like the gas pedal of a car, which throttles the engine up. The sixth one was the loader control, which is basically an arm that lifts the bucket on the front of the tractor up and down. The seventh was the directional shifter, which basically forward reverse. The eighth was there's a handle on the left side of the tractor up on the fender, on the rear fender, that's utilized to grab to get on and off. That was the eighth, excuse me. And the ninth was the ignition key itself.
So you took those 9 swabs.
Correct.
And eventually you packaged them up.
Correct.
And placed them in evidence.
Correct.
To your knowledge, were those swabs ever tested?
I don't know if they were tested or not.
Do you know whether or not they were sent to the crime lab?
I don't know.
Okay. Looking at numbers?
I'm assuming the defense attorney must know the answer to that
Blood
question.
drop on the stair. Did you ever do any Blue Star testing on that?
I know when we on scene, I didn't, but Lieutenant Ballard sprayed the Blue Star on it after the evidence was collected, the swab was collected, and they also sprayed the RTV as well on scene.
Okay. And you took that sample, right?
You talking about collecting the blood sample right here?
Yes.
Yes,
you
I
took
did,
that
sir.
sample. And you packaged that up and that was self.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know if the results of that ever came back?
My understanding that it did.
Okay.
Okay.
So touch DNA, you don't know whether or not it was tested, but you believe that was tested.
Correct.
Okay. And by that I mean states the photo states 35. Now, with this Blue Star, do you have to get specifically trained into how to use it?
I mean, there's no real formal training class. I mean, there's directions on the package of how you mix it. Once it's mixed, you spray it. I mean, I've used stuff like Blue Star and luminol on scenes. I've also used it in photography when I took my crime scene photography class. So, I mean, I guess you could say per se that's training, because you have to have different settings on the camera to take pictures like this. So there's no formal like Blue Star class, or no formal, I would assume, no formal class for spraying chemical reagents or agents like this. But on the job training, plus I've used stuff like this in my photography class and stuff to learn how to take photographs of it.
Okay.
So.
Well, let's talk. Like you said, because you got to mix it. Like if I went to BlueStar.com, ordered some, got it. Is it like a powder that I mix with water?
I want to say it's tablets, I believe.
You believe it's tablets? What
yes.
do you mix it with?
Sterile water. So
Okay.
yes.
It has to be sterile water?
Correct. Usually, yes. So you drop it in the water, you mix it, and then you spray it. And it tells there's directions on the. I don't know what's in the package, but there's directions on it. You know, parts per whatever, part water per tablet, or.
So basically,
Okay. No, it makes sense.
Mr. Defense Attorney, if you can read, you can mix. That doesn't mean you know how to use it, but still, I don't know why. Sometimes I don't understand the belaboring of certain points by defense attorneys. I know that they try to get reasonable doubt in any way that they can, but it's really clear that they're not going to trip this guy up, that he followed protocol. I mean, he just comes across as a very by the book. I dot all my I's, I cross all my T's, and then I go back and check twice to make sure I dotted all my I's and crossed all my T's. I just don't think you're going to
with the Blue Star that
fumble
was
this
sprayed,
guy up, bruh.
on the RTV was, to the best of your knowledge, who mixed that?
I want to say Ballard did. I don't remember mixing it, but
It wasn't you.
I don't think it was me. No.
Okay. Now with the, and I'll get to the RTV in a minute. Did you do any Blue Star testing on the actual tractor bucket?
I don't remember on scene. I know that it was later collected and taken to our evidence bay and redone by other techs, but I don't remember spraying it on scene.
Okay. And you went as a crime scene technician. I assume you went over that tractor with a fine-tooth comb.
Yes.
Okay. Did you find any blood or anything in the bucket?
No.
Okay. Just that one drop on stage 35.
You talking about the photo? Yes,
Yes.
sir. Correct.
Now, that photo also, you had previously testified, you can't make any type of determination of whether or not that's a 90-degree drop, a smear, or anything
It
like
could
that.
be a
or
90
transfer.
degree. It could be a transfer. There's no way I can conclusively give you an answer.
So basically, an easier way to say that would be is you cannot show any way that you don't know how that got there.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how much.
Now, you also talked about
Okay.
with the Blue Star is that it reacts to iron, right?
Yes.
All right, but you can also spray it.
Happy New
without
Year,
seeing the
Shelley.
package.
Thanks for
Does it
being
come
here,
with any
babe.
Information about, hey, this information will give false positives.
I don't know if the directions do. I know that through my on-the-job training, other stuff, I know that. I mean, obviously, like we discussed earlier, false positives do exist. Because obviously it'll fluoresce for iron itself, but it's a different type of fluorescence. It fluoresces quick and turns off. Imagine flipping a light switch on and off really quickly.
Okay.
That's,
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you about. So let's say I sprayed it right here on the floor, right? And it lit up. It's possible that if you can light up, I can take a photograph of it and you can see it, right?
correct.
Okay. So I think you actually said it pops real quick and then
It'll pop. If it's just iron, it'll pop real quick and disappear. So you'd have to be extremely fast with your camera to be able to make that happen if you're going to do both.
Okay.
Okay. And this is interesting information, because if you just Google Blue Star and what it can and can't do, its limitations, etc., if this little bit of information is in there, I've never heard it and never seen it. And I've looked at Blue Star a million times, at least 11 billion. This is interesting information because not just for this trial, but also for the Idaho 4 case, because of the shoe print that was found. And and they used Blue Star on that. So I'm kind of curious. I'm going to just remember this information that I learned from this officer in the back of my brain to hold on to for that trial. All right, back to our questions and answers.
Do you recall, did you do any of the Blue Star testing on any of the towels or hand cloths found inside the home?
No, I did not.
Okay. Now, the RTV, since we're on Blue Star, you remember what the RTV looked like, right? Okay. Orange, side by side.
Correct.
Right? All right. Now, you had stated in your direct examination that Lieutenant Ballard had sprayed Blue Star essentially all over the RTV, and it fluoresced.
In various locations, yes.
Okay. Now, so that stuff fluoresced, and you had taken already at this point in time, because you did the tractor first, right?
Correct.
All right. So you're doing the tractor first, and then you go to help with the RTV, and it fluoresced with the Blue Star, but you didn't take any swabs of the RTV.
Correct.
Okay. None from the bed, none from the inside.
I didn't take any on scene, though.
Okay. Going back to the tractor real quick.
Yes, sir.
On good picture yet. There was some other testing done on it later, but I just wanted to ask you. This is Stewart 21. You can see the seat in that, right?
Correct.
Do you recall when you were looking at the tractor, was the seat on the tractor, was it pushed all the way backwards?
I don't.
No, you don't.
I don't recall.
Okay. Do you recall whether or not you would have manipulated the seat while you were taking photographs and taking the contact swabs?
I mean, if I would have done anything while looking for evidence, I mean, typically tractor seats will fold up, you know, so if you grab for transport, you grab the back and flip them up. I mean, I may have done that to look underneath it, but I don't recall moving it forward or backwards.
Okay.
Which, that would be an interesting thing to know. Are tractors like cars where, you know, if you are shorter in stature, you would move the seat closer to the steering wheel, or if you're taller in stature, you move the seat further back. Do tractors do that, babe?
Do what?
Can you move the seat in tractors where, like, if you're a little bit of me, like short,
Most
you have
of them,
to?
yeah.
Okay, I'm curious about that. Like,
Smaller ones, no.
okay, I'm wondering if this tractor was able to do that. Thank you.
During the break, I had showed you what had been previously marked as Stewart Defense 1 through 4, and then Stewart Defense 14 through 30, I believe. Do you have those photographs?
I do, sir.
These
And
kind of
when
seem
you
like
review those,
humdrum.
those
Let's
very
get
accurate
let's
pictures
skip
of the
forward a
photos
little
you
bit,
have.
okay?
I would agree, yes, sir.
Let's get to the
At
next
this point now,
witness.
we
Let's
move
see who
into
this
defense,
guy is.
Exhibits 1 through 4 and 14 through 30.
I'm going to refer to them as detectives.
Okay.
Were there other detectives there?
Yes, sir.
Kuykendall, one of them?
Yes, sir, he was.
Did you end up going and looking in the house, the main house?
Hold on, I might have gone too forward. Oh, now it's got a buffer.
We're bringing next witness in.
Jennifer says her, you know what, is going crazy again. She told the witness that she doesn't understand what he's saying. Oh my goodness. Oh, it appears quite strong in this area, Patricia.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear affirm that evidence you're about to present this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
All right, have a seat.
Wow, he really enunciated that, so help you God at the end.
I'm going to go ahead and open that microphone finally. If you would state your full name for the record.
It's Charles Roger Westbrook,
Where do you work and what do you do?
the Cherokee Sheriff's Office. I'm Sergeant, and I work in the Behavioral Health Unit Crisis Response Team.
Where you work, where again? I'm sorry.
Behavioral
Speak a little
health.
bit louder if you would, please.
I'm working in the Behavioral Health Unit Crisis Response Team, the co-responder unit.
What is that? Tell me what that is.
So we have a mental health professional and myself. We respond to
Okay, for those of you guys who have already watched this trial once through, if you want, and what would be better or maybe easier for us is tomorrow, what you guys, if you'll put it in the chat now or email me or whatever, like the highlights that I should be looking out for, then I will play those and we don't have to watch every single second, every single minute, every single thing. just the highlights, the best parts, the most informative parts, just an overall, because this is a long trial. All right, here we go.
Mental health crisis, suicides, people in distress, people experiencing psychosis, and then we do follow-ups and try to get people connected into treatment to reduce the number of folks that go to jail or end up in the hospitals if we can.
Okay, kind of like community policing aspect or something you do. How long have you been doing that?
For a little over a year now.
What type of training do you have to do that?
I'm a bachelor's in psychology, a master's in counseling, and I'm also a licensed professional counselor. Worked for about 15 years in the mental health field before I became a law enforcement officer.
Does our sheriff emphasize more than just catch them, lock them up? Does he try to do things like this?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been doing that?
We started crisis intervention team training probably 2004 or 5.
Thank you
Training
so
officers
much.
in behavioral health
Neat.
issues and
For
how to do
dropping
crisis
my
intervention.
I'm going to refer to them as detectives.
Okay.
Were there other detectives there?
Yes, sir.
Packing one of them?
Yes, sir, he was.
Did you end up going and looking in the house, the main house?
Yes, sir. I went in with him, starting some of the preliminary searches.
You ever go into the washroom area and find anything in the washing machine?
Yes, sir. There is a mud room and a laundry room that's off of the garage that goes into the main part of the house. There's a washer and a dryer there, and in the washing machine there were some wet towels.
Did you go into the garage and see vehicles in the garage?
Yes, sir. There were 2 vehicles, a Toyota Sequoia and a Mercedes.
And did you know that the Sequoia was one of the defendant, Melody Farris' driver?
It was identified as hers, yes, sir.
And did you see Melody Farris there at the scene?
Maybe from a distance. I think she was talking to some of the other detectives earlier in the
Talk to
day.
Hayes and other people.
Yes, sir.
You weren't really interviewing people or anything like that?
Not at that time, no, sir.
But when you looked in the Sequoia, the defense Sequoia, did you find some receipts and things like that?
Yes, sir, I did.
And then were pictures taken?
Hold on a minute.
Turned over?
Hold the phone. Back the milk truck up. Patricia says, wait till y'all see the witness who she stayed with under house arrest during this trial. What day is that? Because I need to get to that as well. Like, maybe I should just watch the highlights or something. I don't know. I have to figure. I need a better way to do this.
Other officers grabbed those things?
Yes, sir. Crime scene had already been through the house taking pictures, and then we went back through and started identifying and collecting evidence.
Now, you went on July 6th, I think was Friday. You go back to the scene?
Yes, sir. I think it was the 6th when we actually collected those items.
Okay. And on July 6th, you also collected the victim's wallet. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to mark this for identification as Westbrook 1. I'll hand it to you. I know you've looked at it. We've gone through that. See if you recognize that to be the wallet that you found inside Farris's residence.
Yes, sir, it is.
Now, where did you, based on the ECR, where did you find in your report, where was it found?
The kitchen counter.
And that was on, that was on the ECR, was where that was written?
Yes, sir.
Was there other stuff that you remember on the counter?
There was, I believe there was a purse, and there was a credit card that was identified to me to put into evidence as well.
Do me a favor, take Westbrook 1, look through it, make sure that's the wallet, and has those credit cards and stuff that you found.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is.
To the best of your memory recollection, is that the wallet that you recovered from the scene?
Yes, sir, it is.
Pretty much in the same condition as it was for the most part?
Yes, sir.
This time I tendered it as Westbrook 1. Okay.
Nice, Mitch.
What I'm going to do is I can do this right. Technology and I are not good friends. Just don't try to use this other thing. All right. All right, what I'm doing, I'm going to make a record, so I'm going to talk as I do this. I have Westbrook Run 1, which is Gary's wallet, in my hands. Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir.
And do you see me taking out all the cards and things inside?
Yes, sir.
And I'm putting that down. The rest of the wallet is pretty much empty, it looks like.
Yes, sir.
Is that a good
I'm
idea?
putting on the L mode, Westbrook 1, which is a one that has a light bulb image right there.
There we go. And if you zoom in, then it will.
Listen, I'm a lawyer. Don't, it's not put past me now.
If you do the dial on top, it'll zoom in, and then it'll autofocus when it does that.
All right. This
Well, look
appears
at
to be
everybody helping
a
out.
black leather wallet. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So that's the wallet. And then what I'm going to do, 1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, let me skip forward just a little bit. See
Judge,
what,
do not assist me because I do not know how to.
Picture option, we haven't used that.
oh, bless it. They're all helping together.
So, y'all good with me? Take pictures, something like that. Print it out.
I mean, okay, it's all his stuff, so what is the point here? Sorry, you guys.
So you would not add anything to it?
No, sir.
No, of course not.
Credit
Okay.
cards, debit cards.
Yes, sir.
Hold on.
Yes, sir.
Let me see what Patricia says. Okay, Rusty. All right.
On Westbrook Defense 2,
Let's see what's going on here.
that is
Let
also
him
a
get a
photograph
couple of
your
questions in.
parking receipt, as well as a receipt of something, customer copy of something, correct?
Yes, sir. Something Farms and Company, Birmingham Highway.
Okay. You can you see, well, you've actually got it, but you can all zoom in a little bit here. Yeah, you can see it looks like Scottsdale Farms.
Yes, sir.
Okay. July the 2nd, 2018, do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Looks like, at least this receipt is for $118.51.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Westbrook Defense 3, that is a copy of a bank receipt.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Wells Fargo bank receipt, to be specific. Is that correct? Wells Fargo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And let me pull up Forrest, a little better photograph. Okay, that's a checking, looks like an ATM receipt, right?
Yes, sir.
Where looks like money had been withdrawn, approximately $100.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you can also see from that receipt that the available balance, at least in that main, what it actually says main account, is $11,046.85.
Yes, sir.
Now, do you recall your report? Do you have a copy of it?
I don't have it in front of me, no,
Let me
sir.
ask you first, and you may not need it. In your report, you had listed out things that you had identified, and you had listed out the Lake Lanier Island receipt, AJS pit stop, a MAPCO receipt, and a Fuel City, I'm assuming, receipt, but you didn't list this. Do you recall that?
I don't recall seeing that, no, sir.
Okay. If it wasn't listed in your report, why do you think you'd leave that?
I don't know, sir.
And just to be clear, too, when did you search the car on the 6th?
I believe that's what the ECR says, yes, sir, the 6th.
And did you actually take the physical copies of these receipts into evidence?
I honestly don't recall.
Okay. But you did take the photographs?
No, sir, I didn't take the photographs.
You didn't take but you were there when it was searched?
I was there when it was searched, yes, sir.
Okay. Because that's what your report says, is that you searched the car?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You also did one other thing. You interviewed a woman named Angela Phillips. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that was Gary Phillips' former secretary?
Administrative assistant, yes, sir.
Okay. And I believe it was you and Detective Kuykendall
Yes, sir.
interviewed her. Y'all did that interview down at Burr and Foreman offices?
Yes, sir.
And that interview was, I think it was audio and video recorded, correct?
I believe it was audio, but not video, no, sir.
Okay. Do you recall whether or not, did you interview Ms. Phillips any more or only that one time?
I don't recall talking to her again. I remember interviewing there during that session, but I don't recall talking to her again.
Okay. And you had, because I believe you interviewed her
Hey,
around the
Lariah,
11th,
good to
right?
see you. Happy
Yes.
New Year, babe.
Yes, sir.
And her demeanor when you told her what happened is that she was extremely upset, correct?
That's what I documented.
Okay.
I don't really recall a whole lot about the
Exactly.
interview. I don't recall
You
a
got
whole
a
lot.
deep voice.
I don't recall a whole lot about the interview as far as her demeanor and stuff, but I do remember documenting and just using some of that information.
Okay. And because Detective Kuykendall was actually kind of lead on that, right?
I was doing a forensic victimology
Yes.
of Mr. Farris, and Kuykendall accompanied me to do that.
Okay. And just one second. Actually, let me approach you and get those photographs real quick from you.
Okay, so the point of the defense questioning is that those receipts are an alibi of some sort for her? That she was at Lake Lanier?
One thing, during the interview that you had with Ms. Phillips, do you recall her establishing that she had an ongoing affair with Gary Farris?
During that interview?
Yes.
No, sir.
Not during that interview?
Not during that interview, no, sir.
Okay. Since you had searched the Toyota, what we'll call Melody's car, did you not also search Gary's car, the Mercedes?
I don't recall. Honestly, I know they were there. I listed the cars in the report, but I don't have a memory of that.
Okay. You don't recall because we have no photographs of Gary's car. Do you recall?
Okay. So thank you, Patricia. Patricia says David Thomas is the witness Melody stayed with. So I'm going to thank you, babe. I will definitely, I have to say this. Shout out to Court TV. I like Law and Crime, but Court TV has really stepped up their game in that A, they identify the witness on the stand live during the stream. That's A. B, they have started being meticulous about after the trial has ended for the day, they go back and they put chapters in. So perhaps, all right, thank you, Patricia. 16, thank you. Maybe I should, when I go back through and watch all of this myself and pick out the highlights, I shall be using Court TV.
You or anybody
I'm
else
sorry, Law and Crime.
taking any photograph of Gary's Mercedes?
Not in my presence that I recall, no, sir.
Okay. No further questions, Judge.
That's right. Can I see your photographs of that?
Yeah. Oh, I'll put them up there.
Did you figure it out, Justin? I did. So what are you doing?
So there's no way to capture an image from the device itself. You must use a remote because there's zero chance for a device designed for a courtroom, classroom, boardroom, you'll lose the remote. That's never going to happen. Or
Mariah. The hand sniffer. Well, let me just say there are worse nicknames to have. All right. Let's see.
well, that was brilliant. That was the smartest. So y'all went over to.
State your name for the record.
Melanie Thrasher,
Spell it for us if you would, please.
MELANIE THRASHER.
What is your title at the Sheriff's Office?
Currently, I'm a crime scene technician.
And how long have you been doing that type of work?
I was certified in 2018.
Oh my goodness, more crime scene.
And
I think we got it. There's the layout of the house. Gorgeous. Hold on. I want to know which crime scene technician was in charge of the burn pile. That's who I want to know about. Let's see.
For our local crime scene investigators and a lot of the classes that she had been
Let's see what he has
teaching,
to
and that
say.
we have been pushing our scattered recovery remains and what we call buried recovery remains. She was able to teach those classes at the Georgia Public Safety Training Center down in Monroe County. She was coming to a lot of our, I had heard her speak at the Georgia IAI conferences, because I'm a member of that. And so that's where I started to learn what her mission, what her outlook was. And she said, anytime you need us, call. We all had her number. She made it known that we could call her for consult, and if we need help doing a recovery.
She does look like the Grinch. She really does. She looks like, well, you know, the Grinch is an angry who, or I guess. But that's, yeah, she does. She looks like an angry who. She looks like she lives at the top of what is it? Top of Mount Crumpet. She looks like she would take the last can of Who hash. All right, let's see what's happening here.
Crime scene tape.
As you look at the photograph, there's a pine tree to the right, and is that the beginning of the burn pile?
So this oak right
oak?
here, that is
Okay.
is directly in front of the left side of the pile, and then that pile extends from that tree over to the right.
This is 2. We'll be moving to the right. 3, 4. Now, this stage, there's no really markings or anything. What is this? How early on is this in the processing the scene?
I'm waiting for Dr. Gooding to arrive, but I'm still taking pictures, trying to do something to be ahead so that when she arrives, we can tackle the next task.
But you didn't dive into the file and start doing anything until she arrived
No, sir.
on the scene. 5, 6. And was there anything with the pile itself when you first got there that you noticed and thought, here are some things of interest?
Other than the skeletal remains, I, for whatever reason, kept getting the smell of citronella, and I don't know why. And that's not a normal smell for me at a death investigation. I mean, I generally smell other smells related to the artifact of death, but I kept smelling citronella, and I was like, did I spill some when I was filling mine at my house? I don't know, but I just, every now and again, as I walked around the pile, I could just smell that.
8, 9, just going back. Now, 13, this is looking from one side of the pile, and you said it was still hot to the touch. Was it on one side or certain parts of it that were that way?
So I didn't walk all the way around. When I got close to it, most of it, I stick my hand, I was like, that's still radiating some pretty good heat. And I own firefighter rated boots because I do sometimes have to go into arson scenes. And I wasn't willing to walk close to that in those boots. I was like, let me see what the actual temperature is. 1, I wanted it to be safe, and 2, I needed to document it because it was still radiating quite a bit of heat for this condition.
How can you compare that? How hot is that? Just over 200 degrees.
We boil water at 212. We can get scalding burns, I believe, between 110 and 160. That's hot enough for me to go, I'm not willing to melt polyester to my skin, and I'm not willing to risk the firefighter rating of these boots. We get an expert out here, see what the temperature is, and see how long we need to wait before we can actually work.
Shaw 14, as I zoomed in,
I already like this guy, quite frankly.
what did you notice first when you got to the pile?
So this one, I'm on the left side, and I'm shooting.
Hang on, I want to answer this
over
really quickly.
I can see.
So Lariah asks, is citronella an accelerant? I don't think that it's commonly used. Well, it does burn. The oil, it's what you put in your tiki torches to keep away the mosquitoes. So yeah, it is.
See what appears to be part of a hand.
The hand is
At the time, what I
the
think is a
thing
hand.
is confusing me on the
I see
screen.
what appears to be part of the rib cage, and I'm starting to orient myself. I see parts of different degrees of what I believe are temperature variations. So when we look at something, we say clothing initially blocks heat, it won't burn evenly. That's what I'm seeing in my head, and I'm trying to figure this out, but I see that it's compact too. And I'm like, okay, is this someone who's fallen over? Because I don't see.
It
what we
is
would
an odd
traditionally think
choice,
of as a
but think
full-
about it. This is Georgia in the summer, in the woods. Okay. So if you're burning that, if you're using that as an accelerant, putting it on a fire, right? I would think that you would be doing it to mask the scent, right? But nobody would question that smell either, the smell of burning citronella oil, because it's used to repel mosquitoes. And I can speak from personal experience that in the summertime in Georgia, the mosquitoes are rude and disrespectful, and they are thick. So I feel like she did it for multiple reasons. Okay, I know that there are people in the chat who've already watched this trial and have made up their mind and they think that the jury got it right. I'm not there yet, only because I haven't watched the trial. Although, at this point in the trial, which is very, very early, we're only on day 2. It ain't looking good, Melody. I'm not going to lie. It ain't looking good, Shug. All right, here we go.
Skeleton of a human being. So did someone fall over? Did someone experience some sort of issue that caused them to fall here? All these are running through my head as I'm taking these pictures, trying to process this and think of next steps to go. How am I going to document this and what am I going to look for?
And at this time, you didn't know anything about a bullet in the ribs or anything like that?
No, sir.
15, 16, 17, now we're getting on to 18. And who do we have in this picture? What's going on?
So these are the start of the forensic anthropology examination. So we're marking flags, and you start to see wooden stakes go down for our datum lines. And then we have master's candidate students and the deputy coroners in helping to rake and clear while we're taking pictures.
And as you look at the exhibit, Shaw 18, the photograph, I've got the cursor here. It appears that on the right side, there's an angle or it slopes down or goes downhill to the left. Is that right?
Yes.
'20 is kind of showing that angle, that downhill looking up. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, on the outside of the fire pit, there appears to be, is that wood and things that are charred, not burned?
Yes.
Maybe some vegetation?
Correct.
23, we started getting markers. Now, the A, I know that's going to be renumbered at some point, but what are we doing here in 24? What's this showing?
We are starting to build our quadrants. So we're laying down our north-south line and our east-west. We're also, we have angle indicators on those lines so that if we need to run a tape measure across at one point, we can see what that angle is at that measurement point. So we run the lines and then run the tape. We have our 4 quadrants, but the lines aren't completely square, and we keep it within our boundaries of where we see evidentiary goodies.
And we're going to get into this, but I believe quadrant, it goes top on the right side, A, B, C, D, kind of going in this direction, clockwise.
Yes, I believe we went clockwise that night.
And you see B in Shaw 30 photograph. And then there are some flags that are put down. Are those to indicate things that you just see on the top?
Items of evidence on the top.
Here shows the Shaw 32 shows the 4 quadrants.
Correct.
So this is A, B, C, D. And most of the evidence, the remains were found in A and B. Is that?
In A and B.
When you were there, did you look for any accelerants?
I did not.
Did you find any? Haven't seen gasoline cans or gasoline containers, anything like that?
I did not find any in the area of the pile.
Was there various items, different things, was wood, fencing, bottles, cans, trash, all kinds of different items in this fire pit?
There was, sir.
Now we've got to Shaw 49. Here in Shaw 51, we're going to go into Tell us again, how would you attack each to remove things, collect things? What would you actually do? Do you use a shovel, hands? What did you go down? How did you pick stuff up? And how did you separate?
So we start with our hands first. It's our most tactile sense. So we're going to start in our quadrant. Someone's writing down. We'll start with the large items that we can see and identify, and then from there we will start to grab shovels and trowels to pick up areas of ash and debris to go over to the sifter. Those will be transferred from a specific quadrant being documented by the scribe there, and then put the bucket from there taken to the sifter. The sifter is placed over the blue tarps, something that will contrast with us, and then it's one bucket at a time. We'll sift it, look through the sifter, empty the tarp back into the bucket, check the sifter, make sure we don't have anything, catalog, document that, and then we just keep rinse and repeating as we go through these buckets. So everything starts to slow down at that point once we've removed the big items that we can readily see and identify.
When you found an item of interest, what would you do with it? Is there
So
Dr.
it's
Gooding who laid it out, or what would she do?
There's laid out on tarps. However, Dr. Gooding wants to do that. Like I said at the beginning, she's kind of running that. I'm just making sure, one, I'm learning, and two, anything that she needs. But she's running that process. But she's laying stuff out on tarps. She's cataloging the skeletal remains as they're removed, checking on us. I get to do the manual labor. I was sifting some stuff. We're also continuing to rake and make sure that we don't miss anything within that specific quadrant. Once we're done with that quadrant, we move on.
In Shaw 55, we have these, you see the ground that has markings on it. Was that how that was, or is that something y'all did?
That's from us raking.
Did you notice around the burn pile itself, was there any signs of raking or a tractor had been used for something to clear the land?
No, not around that, because the area on the edge of the burn pile was still green with vegetation.
But did you see that there's that tractor or RTV was in that area?
Not during this point of the investigation.
It says 57. What's going on here? Is this just an example of
We're
what?
examining small bone fragments.
58, what, just scooping buckets? Is that how that would work?
Yep, we're troweling using a dustpan. We're troweling into the bucket. Once we're satisfied with that, it goes to the sifter. We sift it. Again, we look for small bone fragments, items of evidence, pieces of clothing, and lay those out.
Shaw 62, what is this?
That is a picture of our sifter, one of the buckets that we sifted.
And you would sift, and then the bigger piece would remain on top like this?
Yes, sir. And then we'll go through those with the forensic anthropologist to master scan it, pick out the bone fragments. Those will get cataloged. Pieces of construction debris will be examined. If it's not of any evidentiary value, it's returned to another area. Items of evidentiary value are set aside to be cataloged later.
Up to this time in your career, have you been or responded to scenes where a person's body, whether it's alive or dead, a person's body has been greatly demolished, cut up, hurt, broken, otherwise lots of injuries? How many of those have you been to?
I've been to several hundred of those.
And have you seen bones and things like that? Could you recognize certain type of bones, or was the experts able to recognize it much quicker?
They're able to recognize them much quicker, but that's part of my NFA training is a week of anthropology. And I was called many times upon my return by detectives from all over the county. Hey, we found this bone. You know, Fido brought this bone up to the house. Can you look at it? And I had books that I would carry with me to help me identify the difference between animal and human.
Have you worked shootings where people have been shot, actually shot?
Yes, sir.
You ever seen anybody get shot and still be able to move or walk a distance?
Oh, yes, sir.
Like what?
One of the last cases I worked, the shooting victim went 125 feet before he collapsed. He was shot inside a home, collapsed on the street after traversing an outer porch, down a set of stairs, across a very large front yard, till he collapsed in the street.
Oh,
Have you seen people
interesting.
that have been shot, and even after they've been shot, to be able to go a distance or move on their own?
Yes, sir.
So, okay, this is important because the defense has made such a deal about his size and whether or not it's blood in the tractor bucket, how she could have moved him. But what this officer is testifying to is essentially, look, the way that there are people that have been shot, and the way that where the area that they've been shot, they've been able to continue to move for quite a distance on their own before collapsing. So it's quite possible that he was fleeing, collapsed, and all she really had to do was drag him not that long of a distance. So that's important. But what a fascinating and kind of also sad job to have.
How about blood? See people, different levels of when people are shot and how much blood is there?
That depends on the projectile type, where the person was shot. Did it hit a major artery? Did it hit a bunch of muscle? Did it hit, bone and deflect somewhere? That really depends. And then what were they wearing? Is it wintertime? Are they wearing several layers, or are they wearing a pair of shorts and a t-shirt?
A different amount of blood, even though people have been shot. You seen that?
Yes, sir.
63, just a sifting again?
Yes, sir.
64,
Still sifting, looking for small.
65.
Same.
And then 66, what are we doing here?
We are at what we call the bottom. We have now hit Earth. So we have recovered all of the burned material, whatever that may be. And so we will scrape another layer just to ensure that we've not missed anything. So we try to go to Earth and then scrape a layer.
I'm seeing the photographs that it's daylight and it's nighttime. How long were y'all out there?
I believe I watched the sun go down and come back up that particular day. 4 or 5 a.m. is when I finally left the first
Wow.
full cycle of work.
Painstaking process, slow and tedious.
Yes, sir.
Now,
67, what are we doing here?
while we talk about, I'm going to play it, but I'm going to turn
We
him
are
down.
running our
Now, just think about that and how tedious of a process this is for
Did you find any blood at the scene?
an adult body, okay?
As I go through
And
these,
think
this is
about
blue tar photographs.
the
What are we doing?
painstaking
So we're
work
just
that this
documenting
was,
stuff that we found within those
and how
photos.
much more painstaking it would have been to find Quentin. And when I think about it in those terms, that is why I am so disgusted, furious,
Skeletal remains that were recovered.
and just done with Leilani Simon. And that is why when it came to her sentencing hearing and, the people that were talking about who she was when she was a kid or a young teenager, before all of this, like I can, in a way, sort of appreciate, everybody, what is the saying? Every saint has a past and every sinner has a future.
And they're good.
Like I can appreciate it on that level,
Yes, I believe
but
it
at the
was,
end of the day, what she
well after
did
midnight, when I was made aware
was
that
so heinous
something had been
that it
discovered
just
lodged in
overrides
the
everything else.
rib cage.
I agree, Jennifer. He is a good witness and he's not boring. I like him.
.138. Did you remember how it was described by people at the scene? What was found? How they refer to it as?
I don't remember I don't remember if they said it looked like an eraser or, I don't remember what exactly they came and told me. I do remember they said, hey, we found something, you have to come look at this now. I said, okay.
What happened from there when that was found?
So I walked back down to the pile where they're working. Dr. Gooding and her team are still working. Investigator Olenek, who was taking my picture, said, Sarge, here you go. And I went, that looks like a projectile. Everybody stop what you're doing right now. I had to explain to Dr. Gooding, ma'am, I need you to stop for a moment. Everybody stop. Went and got one of the detectives. I believe I went and got Lieutenant Clark, but I know I let Lieutenant Bowder then know. Say, hey, we've got a projectile. We also had to stop and let the coroner know at this point because now we've just changed our dynamics of our investigation. And so we had to take a hard pause while the detectives figured out their next steps. And so I had to wait for them until we could get back to work on what we were doing.
You were investigating a death.
Correct.
And now you're investigating possibly a murder. Is that shifted?
Yes.
And see,
Did you find
this
any gun?
is important.
If it's a suicide,
Hold
you
on.
respond to a suicide. What-
This is important because one of the things that the defense has said at their opening statements was that there was confirmation bias from the beginning, that based on the things that Melody and Gary's son, Scott, who resided not in the home with them, but on the property in a separate residence, that it was the statements made by him saying things like, my mom isn't acting right, there's a missing firearm, something to those effects. And that it was those statements that sort of shaped the way that the investigation went. And this is important testimony because it's evidence to the contrary. It's evidence that it's proof, I should say. It's proof that the evidence is what steered the investigation, not confirmation bias. And that's important, especially in a trial where they're going to, the defense is going to use an alternate suspect.
What do you look for?
The same things I look for in a homicide. We'll try to look for defect. I'm looking for angle of entry, back spatter. A gun location doesn't necessarily mean anything to me because I've had suicide victims do weird things with guns. A note, sometimes I find them, sometimes I don't. But I know in a relatively short amount of time if I'm working with a suicide or if I'm working with something else. This case was unique because, yes, we had a projectile, but it was still in a set of burned remains. So the best thing to do was to stop and get everybody on the same sheet of music at this point.
Which is further proof that this was an evidence-led investigation.
Psalm 166. Do you remember finding this? Seeing
Yes,
this?
I remember seeing that.
Now, came back out at some point and we're working the scene, but there's a photograph taken of a tire mark in Shaw 174. And in relation to where everything is at, in Shaw 174, when you look at these tire marks, what is at the top of the picture?
That's the pond they have on their property in between the main house and their pastures and their barn out to the far right.
This is 177, and the pattern there has a unique pattern. We're going to look at the pattern on the tires in RTV later on. And then I believe there was a dive done to look for the gun in the pond.
Yes, sir.
Were you there for that?
Yes, sir, I was.
After you were worked the burn pile, you actually did some other things while you were at the scene. So were you able to go home on July 5th, Thursday, you probably worked into Friday morning, July 6th. Did you able to go get some sleep, or did you come back? What did you do?
I think there was 2 or 3 hours where I was released and then came back
When you came
Friday,
back,
finished the pile. Cherokee Fire Search and Rescue was in the pond. We completely sifted the pile. We also did line searches of the area behind the pile while the detectives were inside the house doing their searches.
Yes, Jennifer, that is exactly it. She has not admitted at all. She's taken zero accountability. She still takes zero accountability. And even while she was in jail awaiting trial, nothing in her personality or her behavior, her thought processes, nothing changed for her.
let me jump. I'm going to come back to it. But it looks
And I
like
just
on
don't
July
understand
11th, and you were working with Ballard to process some of the scene, I believe, or was-
Yes, sir, those days started to run together,
Okay.
but I was out there for everything that I have.
We're going to get to the photographs here, but to July 6th, looked like you came out and there was a blood stain that you thought some interest on the front door on the floor.
Yes, while we were still working the pile and I had the fire investigator was collecting some items, I was asked to go in and assist CSI Thrasher and CSI Eckert with some stains that they had located. My command asked me to give it a second look and do some documentation and some field testing.
And then you, there was one stain, there was actually a window, and there's 4 things that you looked at.
Absolutely.
Looks like you
Sprinkled
field
donut.
tested the stain
Absolutely.
positions number 1 and 3. Do you remember doing that?
Yes.
And then, I guess they were tested for mammalian blood using an OBITS test?
Hexagon OBTIS test.
OBTIS,
Yes.
okay. And did stain number 1, was that positive for blood, mammalian blood?
I believe that one was, yes.
And this test that you used, what is it, and what is the OBTIS test?
And so it's what we call a field presumptive test that we can do at a scene to see if a stain that we're looking at, 1, is blood, and if it is blood, if it's mammalian blood. So we'll use these at a scene to eliminate certain stains and then prioritize collection of other stains.
And then you also, on the 6th, I believe, found a deer camera near the burn pile?
Yes, while we were doing our walks, I saw a trail cam sitting on a trail leading behind the pile to the left down a well-worn path, and it was walking a ranch fence.
What do you mean by that?
You know, the post fence with the wire to keep cattle or horses separate. I call it a ranch fence.
And did you collect that and a SIM card and things like that from the camera?
Yes, I did.
I believe on July 11th of 2018, you came back again, and this is when you were helping, well, I guess this was at the sheriff's office. Y'all took some items back, and you helped Lieutenant Ballard process the shirt that we're looking at.
Yes.
I think the shirt was originally found in the house as we're looking at Shaw 178. Is this that maroon shirt that we're talking about?
It is.
But
And
there's
then I believe for the sleeve, at some point y'all took that and had it sent off to the GBI. Is that right?
I did not do any further processing after what I did in the lab. I know we did.
all right. Hang on here now. Let me just let this play because I'm trying to understand. I like that name, Fuckett's Grocery and Restaurant. I'm trying to understand who they think this shirt belongs to, because clearly it wasn't something that the victim themselves were wearing at the time, because there would be a defect in it from the bullet.
Note some stains and let the detective know there was some stuff there that could be sent off.
Right.
I don't recall if it was ever sent
We
off.
stipulate to the reports, but items were sent to the GBI and tested.
Oh, yes, sir.
188. This is a picture on the thing on the front of the shirt. What did that look like to you?
To me, at first breath, it looked like a scorch mark.
Oh,
Consistent with soot or something from fire?
To me, it just looked like a scorch mark. It was something that was important enough for me to document. So I wanted to make sure that my case detective knew, hey, this is here.
All right. And then there was a OBTI test done on the shirt for blood. And what is this? It looks like a pregnancy test, but tell us what this
So
is.
this is and this was done at the house. This is in our lab. So what you see is the testing vessel of the.
okay. So for me personally, Jennifer, the way I feel about the prosecutor, so Jennifer says, okay, that's what I thought, Patricia. Melody was wearing this. And these are clearly her shoes because they're small, and that's a women's Nike. What a women's size Nike is what I should say. Jennifer says, what are everyone's thoughts about the prosecutor? I'm not impressed, but then again, everyone can't be Mr. J. I agree. Everyone cannot be Mr. J. Everyone cannot use things like the Sunday Fun Day or, turn a Star Wars movie reference and make it into an analogy for Sarah herself. Not everybody can do that. That is a very specialized skill that not everyone possesses. Personally, I think that what I noticed about this prosecutor that I like is that he asks what I like to call like getting at ease, getting to know you, putting a witness at ease type questions. They're sort of lighthearted in the beginning, just to get the witness because it's even if you've testified 11 billion times in a trial, the first, few questions are, you're a little stiff, you're a little nervous, you're a little apprehensive, especially when you know that the trial is being streamed or televised. So I do think he does a good job there. Um, I'm, yeah, I basically this is like a Miss America answer of the way Neat Needle puts it so succinctly. They all have different styles, and as long as they get the job done, that's basically what I'm trying to say. I mean, I do appreciate the moments of levity like relaxed questions. What I don't like though that prosecutors do is we'll get to such and such in a minute. Because typically it's not in a minute. It's usually not even on that day. You know what I mean? So I'm waiting for something that's not going to happen for a while. And I wish that they would not use the term in a minute because you don't mean a minute. That's probably a little immaturity on my part, but it's just one of those things.
The hexagon test, it uses a cotton swab and a liquid in the test kit. You will swab the suspected blood stain, collect that on that swab, and then you'll clip it off into the fluid. It's a phenolphthalein style solution. Give it a good shake, count, and then you'll break off an end. You'll pour it into the area marked S, it's that trough, and then you wait. And so the first line you'll see is the control. That tells you, hey, the test is working correctly. The second line, the T, that's your
Test.
positive for mammalian blood.
Gotcha. Like
So
a
the control
pregnancy
C and the
test.
T. Here. And then some shoes were taken from the house, 2 pair of Nike shoes. Is that right? That's what we have here.
Correct.
And then the ones here, these blue Nike. And did y'all notice things on these?
I saw what appeared to be some suspected blood stains on the shoes that I wanted to test.
And is that what this OBTI test is here?
Yes, we did one at the scene and then we did some more follow-up in the lab.
Oh.
Now, the Shaw 211, when you came back, I believe the 7th, check my notes, the 6th, the next day, so July 6th. This is the front door here, so as we're standing here looking towards the kitchen table area, we're talking about this area on the floor here, is that right?
Yes.
Shaw 215, is this the spot we're talking about?
Oh dear.
That was 1, and that was tested positive for blood.
Yes.
See? No matter how good of a housekeeper
Going
you
back
are,
to the 11th,
you always miss
bring evidence
something.
back to the sheriff's office, and we're going to be processing some evidence here. Where is this actually at the sheriff's office?
So this is at our headquarters building in the old section of our jail. At
Me
498
too,
Chapel
Lariah.
Drive.
Cacciatore
We have
made me
the
think of
bottom
chicken.
section, which was our old staff dining that we converted into our lab.
Again, the shirt.
See what else. If we get lab
What do we have here?
results.
And so I've put this shirt under an alternate light source. I'm just looking at it.
And this is 232 for the record, sorry.
I'm looking at it under UV light. Blood is the only liquid in the body that doesn't fluoresce under UV light. It's going to turn brown.
Oh.
All I'm using this for is to help locate and verify what I'm seeing in the natural light is a location that I need to pay attention with when I take pictures or do any field presumptive testing.
They brought the shoes back too.
Yes.
And then you and Lieutenant Ballard processed I believe the RTV, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And swabs were taken from, looks like the RTV, the L2 shifter, the shifter up here on
Hey,
the
Music
steering wheel. I
City
believe.
Mom, good to
Swab
see
was
you,
taken from there,
babe.
GBI
Happy
item
New
25B,
Year.
and that was taken sent off to the GBI. Is that correct?
That is.
Also, just as a shout out to, I'm not sure who took the photographs in this, but they're very good photographs that were taken. And I don't mean obviously not the far away ones. I'm talking about the up close ones because I have seen photographs that were taken up close that are awful, and it's very difficult to tell what you're actually looking at. So I appreciate the photography in this trial. Shout out to whoever the photographer was. Good job. Know that your work is not unnoticed and it is appreciated.
And then also y'all tried to look at and process the Kubota, is that right?
Yes.
Now notice the tire marks on the Kubota tractor. And this type of tractor, is it one of those kind of easy to drive? You press forward, goes forward, press back, it goes backwards?
I don't know anything about the operation of the tractor, but I know this one is not one of the models I'm used to where you have to run the handle up on the top side and engage the brake. But as far as the movement, I'm not familiar with it.
But you see the pedals here on the right.
Yes, sir.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with any type of
Since you saw
tractor.
264, what do we see here?
So we're looking at a chemoluminescence reaction with the application of Blue Star onto the hood of the tractor closest to the fuel filling station.
Looks like something in 264 is blue here, as I point to it, and blue below it here. What is that? And it's in blue over here.
And that's an indication of blood.
Could it be something else?
There are instances of false positives with Blue Star. However, when we see those, we'll see those pop like fireworks and then fade away very quickly. Blue Star lasts longer in its chemoluminescence than the other chemoluminescence that we would use. And so not only is it glowing, but you can see where it's attached itself to any trails of blood as it runs.
Oh, that's okay.
So
I
we know
see.
this to not be a false positive. It's an indicator that there could potentially be blood there.
Right, Lariah.
Is your reputation as a crime scene investigator is important to you?
It's very important to me.
I could identify a tractor in a picture. I know what a tractor is. I know what its purpose is for. However, I could not give a review on a tractor, tell you what kind of tractor is best for whatever the heck it is you want to use for tractoring in your everyday life. My knowledge of tractors is limited, very limited.
Now, as we get into, this is 268, we get into things that we're going to try to do something.
What are you trying to
would-
do, Mr.
Judge, with your
Prosecutor?
permission, I'd like him to step down and actually show how we do these. But this is 268-1. This is 268. Can you see it very clearly? Looks like just darkness, doesn't it?
Yes, but I can see it because I'm attuned to it. But yes, it is a dark picture. When we shoot Blue Star, it has to be dark.
Now, this is 268.1, which is the same thing. If you don't mind, come down here and show the jury how you can use the shading to make it pop.
You want to drive the mouse?
Yeah, I'm going to let him drive, Judge. So this is
Oh, wow. This is
268.
interesting. I've never seen them do this before.
So inside Windows 11, they basically have a free version of Lightroom, which is what I used at the sheriff's office. And so for pictures where we want to do some basic lighting adjustment, if we're shooting in an ultra light, we can come over here to the adjustment side. In here we look at brightness, exposure, contrast, our highlights, our shadows, and we can move these slides all the way to the left, all the way to the right until we get whatever we want to be exposed. And so, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the software was going to speak louder.
Apologize. What we'll do is we'll move these sliders left and right until we get the desired exposure that we want. So helping to kind of clean up, if you will. We're not actually changing the photograph because we don't save it to the original image. It will always be a copied image. And so
Just FYI, I do this in Canva all the time. I also use this method in CapCut when I'm editing videos. So I am now qualified to work as a CSI looking at photographs in Georgia. Just FYI. I can only alter the light source. That's it. I can't do any more. I can't tell you what we're looking at or what it means or anything, but I can manipulate the light in a photograph and a video. So let me put that on my LinkedIn real quick. Here we go.
for these, when we started to, we were pulling out the brightness and our exposure.
Me
And then we
too,
take our
Jennifer. I
contrast,
love
and
this
we want
stuff.
to see how it goes. So we're going to run it all the way to the negative to get it to come up. Our highlights wasn't really doing anything, but our shadows. And so we would run that for those photographs to bring it up. And I know the screen, you can't really see it, but there is
My screen looks completely different.
yes, sir. It probably has to deal with the tie-in, but I assure you that there is a change on the computer screen where we can then save it as a copy. And so in this instance where you see parentheses and a number, that is a saved copy. And then we can further explore that inside our metadata and make sure that we haven't altered an image. But that's how we do that in the Windows program.
Please excuse my
If you have a
husband
seat, I'll go through that. I'm
burping.
going to cancel it because I'm not going to say this one. He's going to be coming back in the morning. If y'all want to test the settings on the monitor and see if y'all can adjust it.
And show that in the morning, that's fine.
Yes, sir.
So 268, and then before trial, you were able to get with one of our investigators and adjust it. Is that right?
That is correct.
So this is 268-1, which is the adjusted, and what do we see here?
The chemoluminescent reaction blue star on the towel that we located in the back of the RTV,
And what is that indication of what it could be, possibly be?
an indicator of possibility of blood.
269, what do we see here at the bottom?
Chemoluminescence reaction,
And 269-1 with the adjustment, same thing?
same thing.
270, kind of right here. 270.1, is that adjusted?
Yes, sir.
So let's see if the, so this is 270, and you just adjust the light. Is that what you would do?
Yes.
So as I go with brightness to the left, it gets dark. If I zoom over, you actually can see it.
Yes, sir.
And then, so it takes a dark picture. When blue star on it, you're better able to actually see it pop. Is that right?
We're able to see the chemoluminescence reaction.
Just FYI,
And basically what I just did there is what you do with these photographs.
I like to sometimes add a little vignette to photographs because I think it looks cool that way, but I don't work for the crime lab, so I can do that.
Yes, sir.
270, 270.1, same thing, adjusted, unadjusted, adjusted.
Correct.
271, 271.1, 272, 272.1.
Thank you,
33.
Lariah. He's in here with me, but I don't think, and he doesn't always know when I have the mic unmuted. So it's a process. Here we go.
So off that towel, he has some illumination from Blue Star. Did you process the RTV, the tractor, the shoes, the shirt, the floor in the house? And we're going to probably
All right, let's skip ahead a little bit to the prosecutor, or to the defense, and listen to some cross. Let's see what we got here. All right, here we go.
Bear with me, the thing scrolls kind of fast. So going back to 174, Mr. Focus had asked you about the tire pattern here, 174, 175, 176, 177. Any imprints or anything done on that? But did you take any imprints of that, or did you just take photographs of it?
What do you mean by imprints, sir?
I don't know, like you see Bigfoot walking around, like make a cast of it, so you can compare it to other things later.
No, I did not cast that at the scene.
Okay. Did you do anything else with it other than just take the photographs?
No, sir, because I've got a top-down 1 to 190-degree photograph of it.
Okay, so you didn't need to do anything else with it?
I did not feel at the time I needed to do anything else with it. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Just since it's the order of the photograph, so that'll just make it the least confusing. So this red shirt, I understand you did not find the red shirt, right?
Correct.
All right. Do you know where the red shirt was found?
It was in the house, sir.
Okay. You don't know where in the house?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know where the blood,
Hold on a minute.
because this was,
Mr. Defense Attorney, who I know you said your name repeatedly, but you sure did. Neat noodle. Thanks, babe. You said your name repeatedly, and I'm sorry. I'm just not going to remember it for whatever reason. Maybe tomorrow. But we're almost done for today, and it doesn't look good. At any rate, didn't you or did you not ask him first if he is the one that found the red shirt? You did. And what was his answer? His answer was no. So if he's not the one that found the red shirt, how would he know where the red shirt was found? I mean, oh, thank you so much, Sprinkled Donut. Thank you for becoming a member. Thank you for supporting me and the channel. I appreciate that very, very much. I mean, some of these questions, it's like, bruh, I know what you're trying to do, right? I get it. You have got to inject reasonable doubt into the investigation. You have to inject reasonable doubt throughout the entire trial. But when we're talking about forensics, it's important to interject, hey, maybe you don't know what you're talking about here, into the trial, into that testimony, so that there might be a little bit of reasonable doubt as to the conclusions drawn from the evidence, right? I get it, but it's annoying. Like, stop it, okay? Come on. Reminds me of when my dad used to like sit us down in the breakfast nook, me and my sister, if we were, if they thought we were up to no good, which, like, I'm going to say, honestly, 99.9% of the time, their suspicions were true. Okay. We probably were up to no good. In fact, I know we were, right? But my dad would question me and my sister, right? And it felt like an interrogation. Because what he would do is he would start off with a question, all right? And he would ask me, and then he would ask my sister, which when you're both sitting together, it's real easy to match your answers. So then what he would do is he'd start asking a series of questions, right? And that would go on for a little bit. And then he would revisit the first question that he had asked to see if our answers had changed. Now, me being me, I taught my sister, listen, remember the first question because it's going to come back up again, okay? Because I'd already been tripped up. I only got to get tripped up one time, and I learned my lesson. My sister, on the other hand, yikes on bikes. But after a little while, she became much better at that. So much so, apparently my dad and my mom could tell that there had been some coaching. I prefer to call it prepping the witness, as it were, that they had to go to separating us to get to the truth. But that's what it reminds me of. Like, it's a way of asking questions that I find irritating.
190 was your test of the blood. What location on the shirt did you use your test?
What?
Go back to the picture with the OB, ABFO square, that's where we tested.
Well,
I like how he's
No, so go
gesturing.
back one. Go back
He's
one.
irritated too, but he's trying to be patient.
The big stain.
okay, this stain?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm asking you because I don't know. Is that this stain? I'll flip between 186 and 187, okay? Is that the same stain? In the middle of the shirt?
I believe it would be the same thing, yes, sir.
Okay. So if we go back to the whole shirt, we can get to it. So it's kind of right here, the right-hand side, almost directly below the logo. Fair enough?
On the left-hand side, yes, sir.
Okay. And that's what your testimony to this jury is, that tested positive as being blood.
The field presumptive, yes.
Okay. Field presumptive for
Yes,
blood. Okay.
Right.
From mammalian blood.
Yes.
Yes.
And
It's just a mammal.
are you
It's a
aware
lot
that
of
this shirt was
mammals.
sent to the crime lab?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you aware that the test came back for this shirt?
I know they did get test results back.
Okay. Do you have any indication of what those test results were?
I've been through several of them, so I don't recall right off the top of my head.
Okay, that's fine. We've got those people will come in later.
So then what? Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. hold the phone, okay? To me, what it seems like is that, did she, Lisa? Shut the front door. We'll get back to that. Hold on. Let me finish my train of thought. Oh, it's already derailed because all I can think about is Gypsy having her babies. It's okay. It's not a big deal. It's not you. It was me. Okay. It's my I know where I was going now. It's my understanding that the only people that can testify to the results of testing done are the people that actually performed the testing. So even if this gentleman was aware of the results of those tests, I don't think that he could only answer whether yes or no as to whether he knew that there were results. I don't think he can testify to what the actual results are. Lisa always coming in with the updates. Thank you so much for reporting that, because I'm following that stuff. And listen, I intend to redo the roast, obviously, because I wanted you guys to see it, and it just is better when there's live interaction. So that's why I think from now on, when I do Patreon, it's going to be mostly videos until I get an established day that I will always be live in Patreon, so that you guys can, know that it's coming. All right. So, wow. I'm going to have to go check that out when this is over. Wowie, wow. Oh, Lisa, by the way, just a sidebar. Have you been keeping up with, wow. Seems a little early. Was she born a little early, or is it just me? I'm finna do that math. What do you think about those messages that have been leaked, Lisa? Just while we're waiting for this guy to do his notes.
So the next thing with these shoes, I believe, then you tried to do a test on these shoes and it was negative.
One shoe did test. One shoe did.
Quick. Hold on. Lisa, never be sorry for interrupting, for bringing, I shouldn't say interrupting, for bringing in late breaking news, particularly when it involves people like Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Sarah Boone. Never. It's never an interruption. It is a breaking news situation that I am appreciative for and grateful for. Thank you. Never, because I need to see these things. These are things I need to know about. I appreciate it.
Showed negative and one did show positive.
Okay. And one of them was also sent to the crime lab as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. And on stage 209, at the top on the right-hand side of the shoe, that's the spot where you tested?
Yes, the biggest thing, yes, sir.
Okay.
I cannot believe she named that baby Aurora.
That was sent to the crime lab, right?
The shoes were, yes.
Yeah, but you're probably not
Actually, I can.
been enlightened as to what the results were on that.
I do know the ones that we tested in the lab did not come back. They came back positive for blood, but not for Mr. Farris. Came back with Mrs. Farris's blood.
Okay. But you don't know which shoe that refers to, right?
The ones in 209.
Right here? This one?
Yes, sir. Those are the ones that we tested in the lab.
Okay, so you tested that, the 209, we'll just call those the blue Nikes. So that had Ms. Farris's blood on it?
I believe that's what the report said. I was made aware of that.
Okay, you didn't do the testing?
I did the field presumptive testing in our lab, but we sent it down to the crime lab.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Did anybody tell you what the crime lab said about it?
Yes, he
I
just
believe
said
it
that.
It was not Mr. Farris's blood.
Okay, exactly, thank you. All right, now, this little spot. So I'm going to show you 213. So this little entryway between the front door and going into the dining room, there is that little spot right there.
Did you field test that spot specifically?
Yes, because it was a large volume.
Okay, so that is what you wrote in your report. That is stain 1.
Yes.
Okay, so that tested positive for blood.
Yes.
Okay. Did you then swab that and send it to the crime lab?
I don't recall if I swabbed it or not. I'm pretty sure I did. Now, whether it went to the crime lab, again, I don't know. I was never asked to complete that process and send it now.
Now, I know where he's going with this, but this is something that is important to know, and I'm sure that it's going to be handled on redirect. Many items typically are collected at a crime scene. Okay, they have to prioritize what actually ends up going for testing. That's just the way that it works. So, I think this is going to be something the defense is going to make a mountain out of a molehill, but let's hear.
We already established that this is your investigation, right? So who do you got to ask to send evidence to the crime lab?
So I conversate with the case detective.
So it'd be Detective Hayes.
Yes. I
Okay.
would not make assumptions on the directions of his case.
So you would leave it up to him to decide what evidence you test and don't test
Yes.
while you're actually investigating the crime scene?
Yes.
The crime scene itself was already investigated. This is follow-up forensics investigation.
No, this testing that you did right here, this spot, stage
Right.
217, that's on July 5th or 6th.
That was tested at the scene and the field tested positive for blood.
And then what my question is, because your report says nothing about it, did you swab it, bag it, tag it, and send it off to the crime lab?
If it is not in my report, then I did not swap it, nor did I collect it.
Okay.
There you go.
So if it
Oh, can
wasn't
you
swabbed
imagine,
and sent to
Patricia?
the crime lab, we have no idea whose blood that supposedly is, or even if it is actual human blood.
Correct.
Oh, hold on a
Now,
minute.
you also had talked about
I'm about to rewind this because I need to know very much if he said supposedly or supposedly, because we're going to have an issue if he said supposedly. All right, here we go.
wasn't swabbed.
Hold on. Let me make him slow. Let me make him normal speed.
Sent to the crime lab. We have no idea whose blood that supposedly is, or even if it is actual human.
What say you, chat? Was it supposedly or supposedly? Because to me, listening and reading lips looks like supposedly with a B. Bruh, come on.
Correct.
Now, you also had talked about with Mr. Fogus, there was another stain. You called that stain 3, and it was negative, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then there was also what you had reported.
Thank
being
you,
stains
Rachel.
2 and 4, but they were too small for testing.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, let's keep it pushing, bruh. Let's go. You're losing the jury and you're losing Jen. Okay, sprinkled donut. Let's do it.
And 4, brain crime lab. So if it wasn't swabbed and sent to the crime lab, we have no idea whose blood that supposedly is, or even if it is actual human blood.
Correct.
Now, you also had talked about with Mr. Fogus, there was another stain.
All right, I'm rewinding it one more time.
In my report, that I did not swap it, nor tested positive for blood.
And then what my question is, because your report says nothing about it, did you swab it, bag it, tag it, and send it off to the crime lab?
If it is not in my report, then I did not swap it, nor did I collect it.
Okay. So if it wasn't swabbed and sent to the crime lab, we have no idea whose blood that supposedly is, or even if it is actual human blood.
Correct.
Now, you also had talked about with Mr. Fogus, there was another stain. You called that stain 3, and it was negative, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then there was also what you had reported being stains 2 and 4, but they were too small for testing.
Correct.
I keep hearing supposedly, but I'm going to let it go for now. It's not important. It's not germane to the outcome of the trial or anything like that. It's just a little petty moment for me.
All right, 232. Because I was confused about this. So, states 232, the ultraviolet shirt. This is still the red shirt, just under ultraviolet light.
Yes, sir.
Let me see if there's that a better explanation. So 131 shows the shirt, the red shirt, and then that's it under ultraviolet light, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you were talking with Mr. Fogus that blood is the only thing, and I'm maybe paraphrasing. Blood is the only thing that will glow brown under ultraviolet light. Is that what you meant?
No, it doesn't fluoresce. We've not found where blood fluoresces under ultraviolet light.
So blood doesn't fluoresce under ultraviolet light.
Correct.
Okay. So presumably, I'm assuming what you're implying is that it's your belief that some of these other spots were potential blood.
They could potentially be, yes.
Okay. So I'm assuming when you put this light on this shirt, you would then pull out those handy little, what do you call them? OB TIS kits?
OBTS?
The OB TIS?
The hexagon OBTIS kits.
Yeah, okay. You pulled out one of those and tested those spots, right?
No, sir.
Okay. You just did it on that one little spot where we had previously identified kind of in the middle of the shirt.
Correct.
Okay. So any of these other spots you didn't test, and you're not familiar with what, if anything, came back from the crime lab?
We did not test those for field presumptive, positive or negative testing in our lab. It's a documentation, and then if it's sent off to the lab, we let the crime lab do their testing on it.
Okay. But you don't know what the crime lab testing was?
Correct.
He doesn't work at the crime lab. Stop it. Yes, this is a defense.
Now, let's go to the RTV.
Oh, that's a big old sigh. What are you annoyed
Now,
with
a
about
lot
the
of the RTV stuff, this photograph, this is when you brought it over to the jail, right? Which you call it your lab, but your lab's at the jail.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is brought over to the lab. You actually did.
Okay, that's rude. You call it your lab, right? But the lab is at the jail. Look, bruh, okay? You call it your lab. That's so condescending, okay? This isn't like a situation where, we're talking about Dexter's laboratory, okay? Like it's a cartoon. It's made up. It ain't real. It's their lab. It happens to reside at the jail. Like, don't be so rude. I'm going to have to take off some points in the personality portion of this pageant due to that rudeness.
A lot of the Blue Star testing actually at the residence, right?
Lieutenant Stewart did get samples out there for us.
Okay. Well, I just thought Lieutenant Stewart just took the photographs that you were doing the actual Blue Star.
Not at the house. All my Blue Star was done here at the lab.
Okay. Do you know who did any
Yes,
Blue Star at the house?
Patricia, exactly.
If anybody.
If anybody, it was the GBI.
Okay. Let me ask you this, just while,
Here we go.
I know you had to go up the chain of command to, I'm assuming, hire Dr. Gooding to come out here to remove the remains, right? Like you had to call Ballard, Ballard had to call Captain Pinion, and Captain Pinion had to give the okay, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And somebody, I'm not 100% sure, I don't know if it was you or was it Lieutenant Ballard, made the decision to call out the GBI, Lana Coffey. Who made that call?
Lieutenant Clark.
Lieutenant Clark. Right. What was Lieutenant Clark's role in this?
He was the persons unit lieutenant. So he would have been over.
You kind of got a deep voice, so a little louder.
I'm sorry, he was the persons unit commander.
The persons unit?
Crimes against person.
Oh, crimes. Okay, crimes against person. So he was that commander. So he made the call to call out Elena Coffey.
Well, but I had to start with him because it was done outside of my purview.
Okay, so he's over here, and him or somebody made that decision.
Yes, sir.
They didn't ask you.
Correct.
Right. Even though you're the lead crime scene guy.
Correct.
Correct. All right.
Look,
How many crime scenes?
let me just stop you right here, buddy. I don't like the cut of your jib at all, sir. Okay? I think this is super condescending for you to sit there and imply that this gentleman it was above his pay grade in such a condescending way is so rude. Okay? we all have some level of chain of command, okay? Even me, even though I work for me, myself, and I, everybody knows that I am the low man on the totem pole. I'm at the bottom, then it's Mac, then it's Alice. Everybody knows that Alice runs the show. She is the main supervisor. Just like at your practice, at your law firm, I'm sure that there is a chain of command. Now, you may be at the very top of that chain of command, but you are aware that you have other people under you if you're at the top. And if you're at the bottom or somewhere in the middle, then you recognize that you either have people above you or you have people below you. Don't be rude. That's not necessary. Ugh.
I know you.
And you're
you said
getting
you'd
sped
worked
up
in
too
Gwinnett
for
and stuff
that.
like that. How many of these investigations, larger investigations, have you done being at Cherokee?
Probably a dozen or so, large-scale investigations to this magnitude.
Yeah, that's what I'm not talking about the little things. Have you seen the sheriff's office call out the GBI before?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you seen the sheriff's office call out the GBI to essentially conduct the investigation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know why the GBI was not called in to conduct this investigation?
Because we could do our own.
Okay. Who makes that decision? And if you don't know, you don't know. I understand if that's above your pay grade, but
See?
to the best of your knowledge, who makes that decision?
To call the GBI?
Yeah.
Well, that would come from the command staff.
The command staff?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, there you go. Why do you have to be rude about it?
Jumping into the RTV. With that,
I've been trying to figure out this whole trial
hold on,
what the deal with his
you
hair
had done some
color
swabs
is.
on the RTV,
Rachel, I don't know.
especially the L2 shifter. There was at least one swab that you had done. Actually,
But let me just say this. If it ain't has a natural hair color, I believe the shade is called rude and disrespectful or condescension.
we actually don't have. There's no photographs of the R2 shifter, at least that are in evidence. So, Mr. Fogus had put up what is 266. And I'm assuming here in the top left-hand corner on the gate of the Kubota, that's where you're saying is maybe blood.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's what Blue Star is telling you, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm assuming, and again, immediately you see that, you got to swab it to send it off to the crime line, right?
No, sir.
Okay.
I bet he lunches with James Sullivan Owens Esquire, Jennifer.
Because those two particular little marks were not large enough stains to collect a sample. We saw the chemoluminescence over the entire, we sprayed the entire tailgate area.
Yeah.
Those were the only, actually there's a little third little dot right
Yeah,
there.
right here. Well, why not take you Q-tip, long Q-tip, rub it on there and see if you can get a DNA and send it off.
Yes.
Because we did not-
Clairol number
Okay, so
100,
essentially
rude
we
sunset.
may have blood, but we don't know. Right.
Correct.
Now that would be the same, Mr. Fogus has shown you right here. A little bit of this. You didn't swab this, you didn't try to collect.
Or just for men, number 101. Not above my pay grade. Fucking rude ass.
Collect it to send it off to see about that, right?
Correct.
Right. Now what about, because there's no photographs and there's nothing in your report, what about the actual bed of the RTV? There's no
Yes,
indication there was
Rachel,
any
at
testing
Hooters.
done in that, right? You didn't do any testing in that.
We did not.
Okay. You essentially just sprayed the Blue Star around the bed, correct?
Well, we had it goes into the bed as well.
Okay. You didn't see any blood in there.
We did not get any chemoluminescence reaction.
Okay. From the bed of the RTV, just so the record's clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, you're the
So,
one asking
this
these weird
tractor-
questions in the way.
Now, when you were
you're
doing-
asking them.
This, because your report doesn't, at least your initial report that I have doesn't talk about getting super detailed. It's not bad. I'm not saying you wrote a bad report. It's not a bad. It's just not as detailed. So like with this tractor, and so I mean, you're saying that this is a little bit of blood, or could be blood on the top of the tractor. When did y'all do this testing at the jail?
I believe this was done several days after we finished our work at the actual.
Yes,
So this
Patricia.
is, y'all had to load up the tractor in the RTV, haul it
Yes.
over to the jail, and keep it there before, and then if you just tested it
I love that you guys are just as
Well,
petty
you
as
also
I
have to
am.
get,
Thank you for being petty with me.
search warrants to do our processing, I believe.
Okay.
Look,
And yet
other
again with
people
this,
are
this wasn't
infuriated
swabbed
as
and
well.
collected and sent
They're
to the crime
leaving
lab
the
for
courtroom.
investigation, correct?
Correct.
Judge, I've got probably about another
47 irrelevant questions.
maybe another 10 minutes or so. That's whatever you want to do. The towel that you,
Now, you may have another 10 minutes, but I don't, because I find this line of questioning preposterous. It means literally nothing. I'm not moved or swayed in any way, shape, or form, and I've been on here for 3 hours. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to stop it here. All right. And I'm going to let you guys go for the evening. And what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and skip ahead to day 3 and pick out the highlights from day 3 for us to watch, so that we don't have to sit through things that, you know, it's a 15-week or 15-week. It's like I think it's there's like 22 days or something like that of testimony. And I know between now and probably the beginning of next week, obviously, there's going to be other court hearings. Plus, we have Jake Wagner and Angela Wagner sentencing on Friday. So we need to, you know, get this show on the road. We need to do this in a more timely fashion. So I'm going to skip ahead and get the highlights for us, which is what I should have been doing this entire time. I don't know why it took me day 2 to realize that that's something that should be done. Also, look for me to be back tonight, because we're going to talk about this Gypsy Rose situation. All right? Absolutely, we're going to talk about that. So keep your eye out. Make sure that you have your notifications set to all. And check the community tab, because usually when I do 2 lives in a row like this, what I'll do is share the second live on the community tab. So thank you guys all for being here. If you have not done so, please give your girl a thumbs up on the stream. Do all the YouTube-y things. You know how that works. You know, we do it for the algorithm. And I will see you guys back here tonight, where we're going to dish a little on Gypsy Rose, and we're going to dish a little bit on Sarah Boone. All right. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tonight. Bye. And Happy New Year, everybody.
Cause it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got shit to do. Well, fuck you.
No malicious intent or effort was towards it.
No malicious. Finish her!
Minutes later.
We all do a little mad sometimes.